Afternoon. Can everyone take a seat, please? Thank you. Kaushik. Come here. Come. A very good afternoon, all of you. Thank you so much for all the people associated with Ibiom and many other companies, as well as a big thanks to Atria University for hosting this 37th Ibiom meeting in this beautiful campus, in this beautiful auditorium. So thank you so much. A big hand to Atria University, please. I just want to say a few things before I actually pass on the mic to Mr. Kaushik Raju. He comes from the family of Mr. Sundar Raju, the founder of many different things which some of us didn't know about. As I read through his LinkedIn and other social media news, I was so humbled. Mr. Sundar Raju was invited here, but unfortunately he could not come here. But I'm so glad his son, Mr. Kaushik Raju, is here. Mr. Sundar Raju is the chairman of the Atria Group, founder of Atria University, director of Atria Power. He was also very much into sports. Those of you sports fans, he was the vice president. I think he still is vice president of Asian Tennis Federation, vice president of All India Tennis Association, is a trustee of Atria Institute of Technology, which is the next building. This is part of Atria University, if I'm right, and a founder and member of board ACT FiberNet. So what I really like about this campus and the strategy of Atria University mind is that I read a small feedback someone had given in that LinkedIn website. So he said, that person said about Atria, quote, "The ant that breaks the line is the one that finds new sources of food for the community. Rebellion is fundamental innovation. Team Atria has it. It's well endorsed by everybody who has come here, who know about Atria." So I hope you got that, because as you get to know more and more about Atria, you will begin to see this is something different. Their thinking is quite different from the regular run-of-the-mill universities, institutions, and so on. And that's what I got first exposed to, although I knew the name Atria before. I didn't know much about Atria University per se or Atria Institute of Technology. So I think on the 29th of July, they had organized, along with Swiss Next, in Atria Hotel, Blue Radisson, a beautiful conference called Interspecies Money. And it's all about biodiversity, conservation of biodiversity, how we can protect, how we can improve. And I was there the entire day, a lot of people there. And there's a famous guy called Jonathan Ledgard, he likes to pronounce Ledgard. He was here, and he is the one who authored a book called Interspecies Money. And the whole thing is about how can we save this planet and sustain this planet for the next several generations. And what it means is that planet is just not human beings, like some of us think. We're very human-centric, but it's more of other factors, other elements, which will be the animals, the birds and the bees and all of that, and the environment. So how can these three come together? How can we understand the role that each of these species is playing, which some of us are ignorant about? So I think that was the basic theme of the conference. I was totally sold by the conference, and Mr. Sundar Raju had left everything to Kaushik and his team, I think, to run the meeting, and it was one of the most moving meetings that I've ever attended. Anyway, since then, I'm so glad to be here back in Atria University to know more about Atria. About 2 months ago, Shobha, the CEO of Ibiom, and I came at the invitation of Saurabh and Santosh and others, and we had a good meeting with them, and then talked about Ibiom, and then we said they also wish to know more about Ibiom, and Saurabh has been associated with for quite some time. He has been to some of our earlier meetings, and Santosh and Saurabh and Upasana, they said that what is it we can do, and then we said, why don't we have one of the Ibiom meetings here? And they immediately agreed, and thanks to all of you, to the founders, for accommodating this. And I believe there are about 30 people already logged into YouTube, correct? About 30 people. So hello to all of them. Thank you all for logging in. But we miss you in person. Maybe next time, please do attend in person. So what I wish to do now is that is invite Mr. Kaushik Raju and maybe Santosh, depending on who wish to do what, to come and talk about Atria University, and then we can go on with the rest of the proceedings. Okay? All right. Thank you so much. One second.
Let me introduce Mr. Kaushik Raju properly. He is also the COO of the Atria Group and director of the institutions. And he's also the technical director for our Atria Institute of Technology. But really, this Atria University that we see today is largely driven by his personal passion around education, which he has been pushing the system from 2016. As you know, we already have an engineering college here. In fact, just in the morning, we had a fabulous meeting with our alumni of the Atria Institute of Technology. We have people who are the head of Google startup in India. We have people in Microsoft from Seattle. We have people doing CSR work in India. We have somebody in Indian Navy. He is only 120 people in the world who's an ocean cartographer. So we have all kinds of people in the alumni Atria Institute of Technology. But really, Kaushik's been pushing the system to say we need to have a revolutionary, disruptive form of education, and that's how we have Atria University now. So his imprint is always there. And interspecies, which he will share with us right now, is really his passion project. He read about this in Ledger's paper, and he said, we must do something about this, because there is no dearth of intellectuals in this country, right? And I am a card holder intellectual for a long time. What we need is doers, and Kaushik really combines sharp intellect with action. He is also wanting to solve the problem of urban farming. So he runs another company called Hydrolore, where we are looking at solutions for terrace farming, eventually balcony farming. I'm sorry, I'm letting the cat out of the bag here. And he also is supremely interested in food, but the convergence of food and science. And he runs an amazing place called Farmlore in Bangalore, which is the talk of the town. And right now, one of the chefs from that place is in a world competition, in a Michelin world competition. So I don't know how he finds time to do all of these things, but he's there. And whenever he's here, he's always spending his dedicated time. I'll hand it over to him shortly. Mr. Sundarraju has not been keeping well at all. And I know him that even if he's 20% okay, he will still find his time. So he said that I want to share my apologies to the group. So I have a short video from him, which I'll play, and then I'll hand it over to Kaushik.
An immense pleasure to welcome the Ibiom fraternity to Atria Education. I truly believe that what the last 3 decades were for the IT communication sector in terms of the speed of advancement, the next couple of decades or more will be in the life sciences area. And nothing gives more pleasure than to believe that with Ibiom, the Atria University will engage with the minds of tomorrow and be a participant, an active participant in ensuring that together we create a new generation of young adults that will go out, look at the larger societal problems, find answers in areas and niches within that they will engage in and focus their own futures in those niches to be disruptively additive to the processes that we will see in the future in the spaces of life sciences, agriculture, tech, and biotechnology. I do hope today's engagement will be the harbinger of a robust and meaningful, ongoing, continuous dialogue and engagement between the two, the academic sector and the industrial institutional sectors. I am hoping that today will be a wonderful engagement day for all of you to start saying how do we interact with each other to deliver on the promises of tomorrow. I will look forward to being with all of you sooner than later. Unfortunately, today has been a challenging day health-wise, and I'm handsome out there. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Jagdish Mittur for those kind words. Thank you, sir. And thank you and Shobha ma'am for bringing Ibiom here to the university. All of you wonderful brains within this campus. It's quite exciting times. Like my father said, like the IT era, the next decade or so, life sciences is going to be critical. We've seen the pandemic that happened very recently that affected all of us. More recently, you've seen tomato prices go up like mad. So we don't know where that's going. So basic things of food, health, water, air, they're all going to be challenges because we are consuming things at an aggressive pace. So we believe life sciences will be the fulcrum around which other technologies will work with to solve larger human problems. And as a university, I'll just quickly review why it came about. We believe the education system was designed for the industrial era. I'm from the education system that scared me away from science and math. I did commerce for my undergrad because it was easier to do and science was scary. I get out of college and while I started working, one of my first things that I started enjoying was the kitchen. So this whole molecular gastronomy movement was happening and I got very excited by it. I started experimenting. I had this little lab in my kitchen. I had liquid nitrogen. I had distillers. Looked nothing like a real kitchen, right? It was fun. And we had the same equipment in the school or college, but I never wanted to go in there, right? It just kind of flipped my mind. And then I met Rams from NCBS. I'm sure some of you know him. He tried one of my meals and said, "This is amazing. Why don't you come to NCBS? Whatever you want in terms of equipment is available to you." So I went on this joyride, trying to see if I can capture the flavor of rain. So the smell of rain, the petrichor that you smell. So I was like, can I actually taste it? So went on that journey. I spent 6 months in Ram's lab trying to see if I can actually extract it. Succeeded partially, maybe about 10% of what I would like in terms of intensity. I did achieve, but that was the joy. And what if education system was that? It was about exploring and really understanding and learning. It's not become a space of learning now. It's a space of getting marks. It's this regiment. You come in, You have to achieve marks, and everyone's gaming the system. The faculty is gaming it, the students are gaming it, and it's a lot of wasted time. It's 8 hours a day. Somebody is lecturing who doesn't want to lecture. Somebody is listening who doesn't want to listen, and our attention spans are less than 7 minutes. So we couldn't continue on this journey, and that's where Atria University was born. We were saying, can we make the space really about learning? And how do you do that? Can we create one, we bring in students, we create a space of exploration in the first year. So we really explore, because a lot of us don't know which direction we want to go to at 12th standard. I mean, very few people, I mean, less than 5-10% have that level of clarity. 80-90% of people are there because parents force them, or uh, peer pressure, right? These are two main reasons when we ask students, why did you join a particular stream? So we actually don't allow them to choose their stream year one. While they can select, they only end up doing it in the 16th month. So they spend time exploring and seeing what they're good at. And two, we also realized there's this whole thing about finding your passion. And I truly believe you should find your passion, but not everyone's capable of making money on their passion. There's a problem there as well. So you have this extreme as saying we'll follow our passion, but a lot of them end up saying, okay, they followed it, but they've not figured out how to make revenue out of it, and they get lost. So can the university be a space where we can allow them to find their passion and their skill set and cross that? So if you find the passion in the cross section of the skill set, you've really found what you can possibly do for the rest of your life. It may evolve, but at least you've given them that right direction, and that's what, as a university, we want to be for students. That's what we want to deliver. On the other side, for the industry, right, you're looking at the gap between what students are coming out as in terms of quality. So we were looking at how do we design curriculum, how do we make it updated. We were having a board meeting yesterday where one of the advisors said, are you ready to change curriculum every 6 months? Because that's the pace at which technology is changing, and unless you can change curriculum every 6 months, you will be outdated in terms of what you teach. So that brought about a point of, okay, how do we relook at it? So the crux of the institute, and this I'd like to talk about, I'm hoping it will be valuable to a lot of you as scientists who are here working on projects, is we want to set up center of excellences where practitioners are there. So even teachers have to be practitioners. You teach for no more than 12 weeks, and you teach what you would want out of an output from the student, so they're useful to you. So you don't sit outside and say they're not good for me afterwards. We're saying, come in, join us, set up your center of excellence as your training center, work with us to train the students for 12 weeks, and the rest of the time you focus on building a center of excellence. And why is that useful, setting up a center of excellence within universities? One, there are a lot of funds that are available, whether it's CSR funds, whether it's government grants, so it allows you some flexibility. Two, you actually have unlimited manpower, which is a big challenge for most of us. Trained, skilled manpower is almost impossible to get. But you'll have students locked in for 4 years. So if you actually spend 3 months training them to be useful to you, you can actually have extremely efficient people working for at least 2 years in your organization within a campus. So students get to work on real world problems. They get skilled once they get out. You get skilled manpower after the first year or so that can be valuable to you. So the curriculum and their classes, their marks will depend on the value they add to the various center of excellence. So that's really how we're looking at Atria University going forward. We're not there yet. We've started. And to set up the center of excellence, the ideas that were spoken about, the interspecies money, is a large problem statement that we've taken, a societal problem statement, where there's a cross-section between all the majors that we do, whether it's life sciences, digital transformation, interactive tech, mobility, and energy sciences. So the idea of this is, can we get the biodiversity? Because today we're looking at climate change through the lens of human beings still. We're saying, okay, we'll do renewable energy because we need electricity. Let's do electric vehicles because we need to transport ourselves. But we're not really looking at the pace at which the other biodiversity, other species are getting extinct. There's 150 to 200 species that are going extinct every single day. Unless we aggressively start solving for them, we're not going to help solve for ourselves in terms of climate change. We are going to be slow. So the idea of interspecies money was that, can we give a digital identity for every species, replicate that in the virtual world, and then we can see what's happening on a real-time basis. So, and how do you do that? We have camera traps, there's DNA sequencing that you can do, sound traps, so various ways that you can take that, create a digital world, and every action that we take, can we simulate it and then simulate the next 100, 200 years? Because today we take action based on today's need. We're not really looking at the next 100, 200 years. So how do you look at that? So we've taken that, and now we're setting up Center of Excellences within the university, which becomes curriculum for students. So you've got digital transformation, where we're putting unique IDs, the virtual world for the other species. Then you've got life sciences, we're working with a company in Switzerland that does eDNA. So we can take samples of water and soil from the forests or conservation areas, and we're able to check what is the biodiversity there. So when we trace every action that we do, we can also track what's happening every 6 months, every 1 year. We take the DNA samples and see has the biodiversity increased, decreased, changed, and what needs to be done for that, right? So that's how we're looking at, and this becomes curriculum for students. So we're saying they're working on real world problems, they will get real world skills, and we'll probably, hopefully solve some portion of a larger societal problem. And that's the crux of Atria University. And that's why I'm excited to have a lot of you here, because I'm hoping our vision resonates with what you're looking at, problem statements that you are facing, and we'd love to collaborate with you to make this a reality. And just on a final note before I finish, we've also built a tech platform where you can put your problem statements there, you can put projects out there, work with students and say, okay, this is, if you do these projects, you will be useful to me. So we can also work on that. So you don't have to be physically here. There's a platform that all of you can engage with on that. So we'll take you through the platform individually afterwards at some point. I don't want to take up more time from this occasion. And thank you very much. Thank you for being here. And it's a pleasure to have all of you.
And then be assured, and please assure your father as well, that Ibiom is here. And so does many other companies who have been here, are here to work with you in any which way that's possible, something that we can mutually explore as we go forward. There's one thing I really have to mention to you about Kaushik. So just like the principles of his father and the other family members, there was one write-up about in his LinkedIn. By the way, he's Chief Operating Officer of the Atria Group and member of Board of Trustees that he mentioned before, and Director of Intercellular Telemetrics Private Limited. Okay, all right, yeah. So now this is something that I have to read to you, okay? Just to show where his heart is. So what did Mother Teresa say? She said, if you can't feed 100 people, then feed just one. Could be a man, could be a human, or could be an animal. I think that's what she meant. I don't know about that, but I'm just adding animal to that. Since you talked about interspecies money, then not just one, and more than 100, Kaushik Raju led Atria Foundation served more than 50 lakh meals post-lockdown. More than 50 lakh meals post-lockdown. An initiative that started with a noble cause, sorry, my eyes are failing me, has got its feathers and really to fly high. Atria Foundation has recently built an app that will enable those who want to do their bit to contribute to the cause of feeding the needy, certainly present in Bengaluru. So please give Kaushik and his whole family a big word. So that's the DNA I feel of the Atria University and people who are taking care of all these other aspects of Atria University. So thank you very much. I would like to invite Shobha, Chief Operating Officer of Ibiom, to take forward the next set of proceedings. Thank you.
So thank you to all of you, and special thanks, Kaushik Raju. It was really nice to hear such a nice presentation, very different. And what I felt when you were speaking is probably Atria University is something like a amalgamation between a Gurukula and Ivy League school. You seem to have brought it all together. I think fortunate are the students who will get to study here. And I think with wonderful teachers, after interacting with Saurabh and Upasana and all that, Santosh, I think you have a great team, and success will be yours and all of yours. So thank you. We are very happy that you're hosting this meeting here, and we are having this opportunity to meet and interact with all of you, along with all our startup and patrons that we have with us. With that, we'll go to the next item. There are a couple of them who need to rush to another meeting, and they agreed to be on the panel. So that's Manish Paul. So now we'll have the panel discussion on industry, academia, wish list beyond skilled human resource. So I invite Dr. Jagdish Mittur to be the moderator, and and the panelists, I invite them. We can probably organize some chairs here. Genope Biotech Private Limited, Dr. Manish Paul, CEO of Microbioma Private Limited, and Mr. Sridhar Gampala, CEO of AgriApp Tech.
For industry, academia collaboration beyond the most obvious skilled human resource. So you have Mr. Manish Paul, who was actually academic until recently. That's where I really got to know him at Atria University. He was a dean there, and then he wanted to pursue the more exciting entrepreneurship. So he's taking a huge risk, but I'm sure he's on the right track, and his company is called Microbioma. So please wish him best wishes for his progress here. Thank you. And we have Srinath, formerly with IASC, and he has a lot of connections with IASC. And now I think he's there at Atria University, and he's got his own company called Genfei, mainly looking at zebrafish as a model for identification of human diseases and maybe disease in other animals also. So please wish him. Yes. And we have Mr. Sridhar Gampala, a recent addition to Bengaluru, and he's been here for 6 months now. Yeah, so we poached him from Hyderabad. So he was with a very big agri company called Coromandel, and then he has joined Creagen Agri and Biotech Private Limited, where I used to be associated for some time. And now there's another company called AgriApp, which is also a sister company of Creagen, which is really making everything about agriculture more digital and make it reaching out to lakhs and lakhs of farmers. Mr. Sridhar Gampala, please. And we have Santosh, many of you met him at the last meeting, and he's one of the local residents or local experts here, and you already heard him before, and hopefully he will be able to expand what Kaushik was talking about when it comes to academia and industry collaboration. So basically, I want to start saying that, the academics, there are many academics here who got converted to becoming entrepreneurs, and we are ready to work with you in any which way we can, and hopefully this relationship will go, far and wide. So thank you all for this, for providing the opportunity to have this panel discussion. So my thing is that there was a time when I was doing my master's and PhD and postdocing and all of that, where if you hear the word industry, it's like a yucky word. Academia is something very sacred. Industry is all profit-oriented. They want to make money. They're very greedy, blah, 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 all of that. That's the sort of environment that we grew in. Even IP was something that was alien to many of the academics. What IP? Why do you want to patent it? Imagine if Mr. C.V. Raman, Sir C.V. Raman had patented the Raman spectra in 1940s. And if that had been monetized, imagine where IAC would have been. Imagine where India would have been. Or Ramachandran plot, the protein structure engineers know about that. Because academics don't think of making money. They want to survive, do well, go for the things that have not known before, identify them, and see what can be done. Publish papers, right? Lots and lots of them, 300, 400 publications, not worry about commercialization. It was mainly the thing. So the difference was between academia and industry was like almost like a day and night, or a sea and a land, or maybe India, China, whatever analogy that you can give, that's how it was. But I think things have changed thanks to the growing environment and the demand and probably less funding of the R&D people in academia. So R&D people had to look forward to look at some other funding resources. So my question to all of them, we can go one by one, please take a few minutes for each question, is can we define in your words, okay, first, what is academia, what is industry? Why should they even collaborate? Okay, there are a couple of topics, for example, that you can pick on. You don't have to cover all of them. Curiosity-driven is academia, but do we have the challenges? Do academic people know what the challenges are? You work on something and you go on and on and on, publish 100 papers, 250 papers, and move about, get your prize, whatever it is. Okay, whereas challenges-driven, whereas industry is most of challenges-driven. There's something the society requires. Am I able to come up with a product or a process that can that can provide solution to that challenge? Innovation-driven versus commercialization-driven. Public funding-driven versus market funding-driven. Publications-driven versus IP-driven. Individual lab-driven, collaboration-driven, and so on. I'm sure you have your own distinction, how you distinguish between academic and industry. But now we're at a stage where we have to collaborate with each other if we're really serious about solving some of the challenges that the state has, India has, maybe the world has. Okay, so let me start with you, Srinath. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. According to me, I think we have to see what is the value creation from both the sides. In academia, the value creation is working hands, as we all know. But apart from that, it is to train the students what is happening in the real world. Okay, so the academic thing is to give a freedom for a student to explore, not just marks as it's mentioned, but when I was doing the teaching part at undergrad program, so first year was very strict. Second year onwards, we used to get open-ended questions or sometimes really a bad result, so that they also get to know results are their failures, which you have to come up and give a solution for it. So that thought process has to be inculcated. That's the job of the academia. But when we talk about the industry has one goal, that it has one vision of delivering something. Okay, that means it is regulated by many regulatory authorities. It can be, the production quality, it can be the quality or, batches. There you cannot play around as an experiment. That they can do as a 10% of their side activity. So they are of two different broad spectrums. One where it's an exposure, when it is here, it is a delivery point. Now, academia industry collaboration is good to do, but what is the end point? Now, we specifically are from biotech industry, and we all know what is bench work and how much capital goes into even to do a minor experiment. It can cost like 10,000 ranging to another number. But if it is an IT based or a biotech based, all you require is a server and you can go with that. Now, if it's a benchmark kind of thing, there is an issue according to me, because there are many gaps to be filled in. The hands are also to be, in that level to understand that the delivery is towards the industry part. Yeah? So that's my take. But when you ask that one particular question, which one to take, being a biologist, it will be a heterogeneous kind of answer. So the answer is the academia is public fund driven, and you have put versus market, but I will say it is commercial driven in case of industry. So it's a mixed match in the choices given to us to talk about. So that's the hands which come into industry right now is like they come for internship. But believe me, 99% the internship is just to have a certificate. They don't want to know the process of learning or delivery. So that's one gap according to us. So when they come to industry, it shouldn't that we are teaching them again the basics part of it, which is to be taken care in the academia level. That's my say.
Thank you.
Take this. Thanks, Jagdish. I feel this very distinction between academia and industry itself is totally flawed. We have probably put it in the people's mind that industry has a particular characteristics versus an academia. Whole world, if you see, it is all economy driven. End of the day, it is all economics. Every part of the world works on economics, including the biodiversity as well. Everything about economics, who survives. And being a microbiologist, I look at it very differently, how the microbial world functions. There's a huge amount of wisdom there. But when you correlate these two things, what I would do for these kind of challenges, I wouldn't differentiate between the industry and academia, but what would be nice is for an academic institution, which is the reality is, we look at the sustainable developmental goals. There are 17 sustainable developmental goals which have been defined to address economy of the world to be sustainable in the long term. And based on that, each country develops their own technology visions. Like that, India has got 13 goals. Out of 17, they've made 13 goals. Now, if we are able to align with these two goals, I think be it industry or academia, both could contribute. He has covered some points of it, of course. But when the fundamental research can be worked in collaboration with academia, funded by the industry for addressing this 17 derived further to 13, the funding becomes easier because there is a global challenge and global issue that we are trying to address collectively. Because academic knowledge is very important, though for me, I feel the way the academia works is just generating publications, and that's never attractive to me because that doesn't translate into the end product. For me, I'm a translational scientist. For me, anything it reaches the common man finally as a product, that's the most attractive thing to me. So I'll give a small example, 2 minutes, 1 minute rather. In Acharya, what I was thinking to do was every department has projects to be done, right? So you make sure everybody come together, each project gets scrutinized. From that, take the best of the projects and build a competition among the best of them best and pick up 5 and incubate them. At least 3 can hire for the companies. So we nurturing this mind, entrepreneurial mind at the academic level makes them to reduce the gap between industry and academia. The very thought process itself should be like an academic. And creating the mind in academia to get a job, that itself is again flawed for me, because most of the time what happens, we work to earn in monies. But money is only one of the part of income person should look at. They should look at a larger gains what they could get by contributing and creating wealth. That could again bring back the, adding wealth to the whole ecosystem itself. So I would say that reducing the gap is through focusing with these goals of the world and the country where we are living in, and then achieving the larger purpose.
So we need to come back again. So are we really doing a good job in reducing the gap? We can talk about it later on. Sridhar?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I think I have some practical views. I don't see any difference between academia and industry. Because I reflect, all the guys, when they selected their path of either accommodation or industry, all are students at one point of time. All have studied in the colleges, all have earned the knowledge, then they selected their path. Okay, so from that perspective, I don't see both are different, both are one from the knowledge point of view. The difference between these two, if you ask me, the guy who selected the part of industry, he wants to create a product which has a marketability. When he gets into academia direction, that need is not emerging as of now. So I think that compelling need is not there. So they get deeper into knowledge exploration. Of course, that is very much needed. I think that is what the disconnect between these two. I think that is the gap what I see. And from my practice, I think I can say few points here, or yeah. See, no, same. So majority of the time I worked in the big industries like Coromandel Fertilizers, L&T and all, where we come across the big, we always expect big from the academics, because when we look at the employees we take, we always see the big gap from the students when they come in, when they come to the company, when we expect them to deliver. I think I read somewhere, of course, Mr. Raju and all knows, out of engineers, out of 5, I'm talking more of employability. One employability I'm talking about. So 1 is selected differently. From the management graduates, out of 4, 1. So when we look at the employees, we don't look at the, of course, as industry preference is not that how much knowledge you have. Definitely we respect the knowledge. but how much value you can create in the industry. For that, I look at more for employability. So I think the colleges, institutions have to move to that concept of employability is one. But however, I can talk in the next.
Industry ready is something that's very, very important. Okay, let's pass on to someone who's actually representing university as we speak now.
A new Varna system. And then people go about justifying Varna by saying those who love studying are Brahmins, those who love action are Kshatriyas, and you know how to think. Those who are love to take money out of other people's pocket are Vaishyas. And then we can convert that easily into degrees, right? We can say those who want to do research is PhD, those who want to do action are BTech, and those who want out of their other people's pocket is BBA management. So I want to share actually an experience of mine. When I first started working, I was in Calcutta. And there were two companies at that time who had head offices in Calcutta. One was Philips, other was ICI, as in paints. There were others also, ITC was also there. But I saw this firsthand in Philips and ICI, that in those days there were multiple hierarchies, right? So if you had to meet somebody at the top, you had to go through various gatekeepers. But in both offices, in the head offices, there was this slim lady, very white, very British in her bearing. She was British, who could walk into any of the MD's offices in and in ICI. And so I was very curious about that. Who is this lady? How is she able to manage? And she was not an employee there. And I found out that, and this is going to now show my age when I'm saying this, she used to run a stenographer school. So only those people who are old enough as me will remember what a stenographer is. But she used to run a stenographer school. And if you talk to that lady that, what is your school about? She would not talk about stenography. She would say, I am building ladies of character. And the point is that even of finishing, today there seems to be like an expectation that academia has to create stenographers, as in finishing school for whatever skills which are required. But really the primary purpose was about building character. Having said that, I like what Manish and both have said, that we are really all one. Like I really loved when Shidhar said, we were all students some days, right? And if you just extrapolate it, we are all human beings at the end of the day. I was not born to do a job. When my mom and my dad in their happy times conceived me. They didn't say that Santosh one day will will go and do a job, right? There's much more to human beings than that. So what we really want to do, and I'm going to now do a plug-in for Atria University. You already heard it from Kaushik. We should all behave like citizens of today with an obligation and responsibility of tomorrow. We should all behave like citizens of today with an obligation and responsibility of tomorrow. And if that is the case, each one of us is obligated to find out what are the small and big societal problems which are out there and what is my role in it. And you don't need to be an academician or industry to solve that. But if you are, then you are just better placed. And hence, I absolutely agree in saying collaboration is a given for academia and industry. If we have the perspective that I want to solve societal problems, they could be as small as in my neighborhood, people are throwing plastic. What is the behavioral change I need to do so that they stop throwing plastic? To a large project like saying, we have now created our own ring around the earth. Some of you who are in space technology will know that the amount of debris we have created in the space, there is now a ring of something like 10 kilometers in width circling this earth. So you can go as micro as that, or you can go as macro as that. And that's the only space academia and industry will definitely come together. That's my view.
Yeah. So what Santosh is saying is correct, is very important, and we're all students at one point of time. So why does that mindset change as we go towards different professions is something that we need to further elaborate on. But what I want to know is, are we doing enough, to identify what the societal challenges are? I know ATI is doing it because you're looking at a very higher level, overarching problems that we have. But maybe there's something that's not happening in other universities. There are other universities. Is it change? So my next question, Sridhar, also with you, is the climate for collaboration changing in India? If it is it what India's aspirations are? I mean, we have from the government of India, we have all these wonderful aspirations, but are we really reaching there? Are reaching there from the ground level point of view?
Actually, I'm very positive about in the collaboration between industry and academia. I see a lot of positivity in the last 10 years, I'll say. Very welcoming, that is one. But if you see whether the pace at which is needed, our choice. Number one country in the world, then we have to fasten our. So it is only Indian choice how to take it forward. Nobody. But looking at our aspiration, I think we have to 3x faster is required if we really want to do that. Okay. So from that point of view, I see now many industries are collaborating with food institutes like Atria, IIT, and I've seen that. Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you two things. I will explain about my old company and current company as well. So very interesting case we have done in the Coromandel fertilizer when we have done. So I think some insights. Coromandel fertilizer manufacturer of the leading. Okay. So this is the chemical industry. You know all fertilizer. I know we know about rice, but many people don't know about fertilizer. So we all eat rice and fertilizer put together every day. Okay. 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 It's cool. So that is the chemical industry. So then what they used to face, what we used to face, this all raw material is imported raw material. And 1% of material efficiency will bring actually 50 crore savings to company. 1% of material efficiency. But the problem statement at that time, the guys within the factory, within the industry, they don't have time to solve. Because every day they run behind their targets and all. So then who will solve the problem? This is the point. So this is always presented as the one burning problem industry has to solve. But industry, nobody has the time. So in the Coromandel, we took that initiative, this in Visakhapatnam, Andhra University. We talked to their chemical engineering department and we had associated. So we said that, I'm talking about this about 10 years back, okay? Every year, three problems will be given to the policy. Then we identify the student groups, and we also identify the industry guy from the company. Then there is even we don't leave to students, we identify the professor or the teacher from the even this. Then we used to make a small group. And the industry guy has a 25% KRA for the project to succeed. As a part of his appraisal, okay, 20% weightage will come from that. These guys have to solve the problem and present it. So you don't believe. I think next 3 years, we solved the many problems which fertilizer industry could not solve. So I'll tell you where from this has come. So I'll take 1 more minute on the show. See, what I observed here, maybe my observation, I might not be completely right also. Many projects are left to the students, and their interest is to get the internship. Okay, the professors have a limited time to support them. Industry is disconnected. Okay, actually, the project to succeed, we need a student energy and faculty experience and industry knowledge put together. Then the only project will be successful. That's what we observe. I think that way actually we have done good things, and we are seeing now many. When I go to last time IIT Kharagpur, my classmate was there. So many companies are coming forward and doing the projects, especially in AI space, artificial intelligence and data sciences. Many people are doing. And Tatas are doing, and the Startup India is one of the example for making government interest in coming forward and all. So trend-wise is good, but my point is rather than looking at what to start, like Santosh said, there are many problems in India, many problems. I think we have to select one and start. Of course, the bigger problems, climate change, food security, mental health, many things were there. But where we are good at, the college has to select where they're passionate. Because without passion, if you start the project, never end. Maybe I think this is a very customized project we have to select with a clear intent, what value I want to add in the society. I think I need time.
Manish, you had a lot of issues. You had a lot of topics that you were trying to identify when you were at Acharya, since I knew you were there. And then I think you had your own challenges there, trying to get university to support you to collaborate and bring entrepreneurship at the university campus itself, which is the basic ground for new company to industries. So you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, if you look at any of the, I mean, I never call them challenges now, because I call them opportunities, because that's where it shifted the mindset. And one thing which I like what Santosh was mentioning is when my first son, Deeplansh, was born, my dad called and told us, your responsibility is to bring him up as a good human being. What he becomes professionally is not your job. And I think they both our sons are faring well in their career, which means that helped. So if you focus in academia to induce that interest in life, to connect with the nature from which they have come from. If we separate ourselves as I am different, nature is something else there, then I think you try to be superior to that nature and try to solve a problem. If you connect with that at a much different plane, automatically what happens, you will find solutions in a different plane altogether. And I think there is nothing to solve. Nature gives us solutions. It does show us the solutions, how to solve it. And the recent episode which Shekhar was sharing about the dog bite. If a media tells something, the whole world believes what is the propaganda, but nobody goes beyond that. The reason is we have been filtered like this. If somebody goes a little deeper, then how can rabies come in one shot? It takes an incubation period, understanding. So any education system, if they can connect the students to imbibe the knowledge and the wisdom rather than just rote learn to pass an exam, that mindset shift will solve most of the challenges, what we think are challenges. They will no more be challenges. They will just fun for children actually. Right? We have that one in Kanakpura, right? Which base has started. The school, Prayoga.
but
Prayoga, right?
Prayoga.
So that institution where children are allowed to come and experiment. All our children are exposed to is engineering, medicine, right? Majority. Otherwise, everyone is tier 3, tier 4. Anybody other than engineering, medicine. Because it is a fast money making. So that mindset has to change from money is not the only reason why I am getting educated. I'm getting educated to add value to the nature to which I myself belong to. That perception is to be more right.
Srinath, I know you are based in Rayma University. I know your own company. Are you getting enough support from the university for you to flourish, and also in order to collaborate with several labs there may be? And also, are you playing a role in sort of changing the mindset of that university if it is not changing? So, what is that? How do you see collaboration happening where you are?
Okay. Well, the context has been very specific that I have to speak about Reva. So,
Come in line with that. What is that?
yeah. So, if I have to say very specifically in context of Reva, they are in a developing stage right now. Their infrastructure is coming up. I have been giving them inputs also what is required, both in the academic level as well as they have their own incubation center coming up. So I give my inputs how to have it organized, both in terms of project as well as, it keeps on changing. If I, yeah, this way. I have to see at Santosh. I'm fixing on you. So if once the infrastructure is up, then only you can have other things emerging up. Up till then, it is just like a grass underneath the soil. It will keep on working at that level. But if I come back to the context of is there collaboration between industry and academia is in the pace? Yeah, it has always been. The fall-off was more there. Now it has turned that the association is turning stronger. Maybe it is money driven, maybe because biology is pushing, maybe because that is asking. There are many other incentives and add-ons. But the purpose has to be that I want to gain something out of it. That has to be the logic for any kind of association to have a win-win kind of solution.
Thank you. So, Santosh, now that you have a prime role in the university, I know you're already on the path of change or change the mindset of students and get them to become more aware of the issues, how we can train them, liberated thinking, that they can do what they think is right and all that. So, what kind of help, assistance you need from, so there are lots of startup companies here, plus there are also good industry folks here. So what kind of help do you think Atria can look out for?
From the startup companies. Look out for help from the startup companies.
Startup companies or industry person? Industry.
One is, it took me some time to stop being judgmental about young people. Because one of the disadvantage of aging is that very soon you lapse into this thing, Hamare Zamane mein, okay? And the reality is things are changing very, very rapidly. Right? I mean, 20 years back, if Mr. Narayan Murthy said that 70 hours a week is required, he would have been celebrated. Today he's getting flamed on social media. Right? So why am I bringing that up? I'm bringing that up because we ran a summer school here. It was one of the most intensive summer schools in India. And we had a student and we were talking to him about drones. And the kid said, I already have flown 5 FPV drones, built and flown 5 FPV drones. And the student is only 9th standard. So I'm saying that there was a time when the industry would define the needs and the academia would change their curriculum on the basis of that needs. And we are also in that process of making sure that our skills are always relevant to what people in the industry require. But I'm saying there is a third force right now. I'll just take one more example and conclude my point. The other day I was walking through our college, Atria Institute of Technology, and I saw a buzz of students over there. And so I asked, what's happening there? And they said, we are doing a jam. Okay. Now, I'm not that old enough, but in my days when somebody said jam, it meant a band. Yeah. Like you were riffing off against each other.
So I said, put band over all. I said, let's see. So I said, what music are you playing? So obviously I showed my age. He said, I think he wanted to say uncle to me, but he didn't. He said, so the uncle was invisible, like inaudible, and then he said, you are doing Google Study Jam. So I said, what is Google Study Jam? So he was kind enough to explain to me what it meant. So Google now has on most subjects an entire free stuff, which the students can roll it out amongst themselves. And what were they learning in that study jam? AI. And AI today is a minimum third year or a fourth year subject in any college. And these were kids in the first year. I'm bringing that up to say that even institutions will now have to ask themselves, how do I catch up with this disruption? Because very soon, the students are going to demand what they want to learn and not just the industry. And which is why in Atria, we have this concept called flexible learning pathway, which means that the student comes in the first year and says, this is what I want to learn over the pathway, and he has the full freedom to keep changing it. I end by saying, quite a few of us would have seen this movie, Three Idiots, right? And there is a character called Rancho, and one of the characters is that he goes into any class wherever his fancy. And if you look at it, here the student is also doing the same thing. The only difference is that if he doesn't get it in the college that he's studying, he goes to the largest university in the world now, which is YouTube, right? And YouTube has no judgment on who should study what at what level. And so to answer your question, yes, we will have to be completely in tune what the industry requires. Even bigger task for me as well as the industry is what does the student want and what does the student of the future want? And that's how we have to be really
Okay. Just a few, 5 more minutes, and then we can also open to the audience if someone has any questions on this topic. So my next question is, I know that many industry folks are not very happy about the kind of graduates that we're getting from academia. Maybe there are exceptions, one or two. Some of the best students go abroad instead of staying back in India and working with the industry. So many industry, they've got their own institutions being set up, academies being set up. Biocon is one example. They have their own pharma academy, which they're training students as per their requirements, as per their future requirements. So my question is, should industry have their own commercial goal-driven academic teams instead of collaborating with universities? Who would like to take that?
I think we need to start focusing on the exponential technologies, which are the future. And if the children are exposed to that from the beginning, that's very exciting because that is, they get into more of a fancy world, but they're preparing themselves for the future. Right? I think that is one part. Students can be encouraged to go forward. And industry academic collaborations, narrowing the gap is one thing I'm going to reiterate. They should not be differentiated saying this is industry, but education is also becoming industry. It is quote unquote a business now. It is not like olden days. I'm not saying Hamare Samare. The original thought was to impart education. Of course, imparting education is good, but it is also making money out of it. It's not making sense. So I think that will be a separate thing. But for the children, exposing them to something which is more exciting and enabling them to see where the world is going, where the world is going. And these two aspects would make them become more responsible citizens rather than just become quote unquote workers of this world. Do you want to add something?
No, I think I'm 100% agree with that. But responding to Jagdish Metto's question, I think whether industry will keep their self-captive R&D or they need to collaborate. I 100% go for the collaboration, which is important, because we have seen industry, when we start on our own, the focus is not there. It is only the initiative. It never gives a big results unless it's very compelling thing. So I think the collaboration is required. But what type of infrastructure you create, where you create it, but industry expect academy to be nearer to them. But since we are seeing now, it's all R&D or R&D piloting in the institutions, I think again there's a big distance. So if we create something in the industry itself, I think the connectivity must be there. That's my point.
So one of the examples that I had personally was that when I was working for a company, when I was working for CSR in Australia, because the federal funding was getting lower and lower, so the incentive that it was that any grant that you are applying for, any R&D grant, you have to have 30% of that money coming from the industry. So they truly force the academic people to go approach the industry, and many industries were coming forward to that. I'm not sure if such a situation is here in India, where funding agencies telling whether it's companies, startup companies, or the other institutions in academia say that, you go approach the industry, for you to get some percent of the funding that you're applying for, then you will match it or even better it. I'm not sure if such a policy is in India yet. That's just an open thing. Second example was that when I was working for Monsanto, the crop transformation technology, the skill was not being taught anymore in universities, right? Because it was sort of a dying art. So what Monsanto did was at that time, this in St. Louis, they had a project, they had a special course in University of North Carolina, I think in Raleigh, where they said, we're going to give you funding. I want students to be in the academic atmosphere, but I want them to be trained in crop transformation technology so that we can hire them. So instead of having your own academia in your own industry, they actually collaborated with an industry where they said, look, this could be gene therapy, could be CRISPR-Cas, whatever it is. Industry may not have all the way to do what typical academic institution does. That's one option. I don't know if such a thing is available in India. Okay, I think I've already, my last question was, in your view, maybe give some tips to Atria. Since it's a young university and with very high hopes, and I think we believe in these hopes. So I'm going to ask these three gentlemen here, in your view, what and how should a young university like Atria University proceed to train students with a converging mindset in order to drive India to a superior position? And he's taking notes, so you better be.
Well, this is where I can give my input of 5.5 years of teaching at IISc. As I mentioned earlier also that we had segments of exposure to the lab and then giving them failed experiment or open-ended experiment. But what we made, one thing was that this speaker. Until you don't speak, you don't get whether you are right or wrong. If you are right, good, your thought process was in the right direction. If wrong, it is a challenge that you come up and figure out why it went wrong, what could have been done to do. So there was one field experiment. The first year itself, where students were taken to outside the lab to do ecological experiments. What I trained them was to how to work with data, how to collect the data, and how to use statistics. Many of them don't know what is statistics. That's apathy that even after 9 semesters, sometimes they just think, okay, P-square or this particular chi-square value is good enough. There are many more which can be thought of. And there are recent science paper also where same set of data was given to 26 research labs based on the stats because the output was different. All of them are right, it's nothing wrong, but the perception is not involved. They have a different outcome. So that openness has to come from, if not first semester, from second semester, is according to me. And I will give one input where students were allowed to use their laptops during the experiment. I keep on roaming around. I know at least two languages. I made a point that everyone speaks in English, at least when you are doing science. So this guy, we had said that you have to know that what is the state line as a consolidation. What this chap was doing was moving data. For them, the endpoint was to get a straight line, correct? But they were not understanding the relevance of having a variation. Sometimes they explain that variation is outcome. You have to accept that and find out how to work with variation. There is nothing, something called as 100% pure human nature, which is like 99.9%. Can you give it? Once they come to that level, fine. Acceptance of failure. Third is what to do next, and which is the shortest part to reach that, because that holds their skill of working on plan A, B, and C. Lastly, is that they are responsible for the outcome that they are having. That's my thought.
Can give you 2 points. One is when the student comes to the university, like any job you take in, you have induction program, right? You have induction program to basically to real learning their performance. Because training become quote unquote stereotype positions. After the way they have learned all these years, so they can move on to their learning. Second thing is not to learn for the title, organization, but to have all they could you have that keep playing around and want to part. That's the thing.
It's very nice. I have two questions. One is that, okay, because at very young university, I've been with a big value system and big aspirations. Maybe not, I'm not talking about this university, but you can try that. So can the college state, why 20-30% of the class only get employed? Why 100%? We have to think, right? Why 100% of the class only? That process gives us different reflections. Then I think I will not take much time because I know other speakers took it. So few thought processes to build that. First, college and faculty should know what are the opportunities in the next 5 years. Because we all know what are the opportunity next year. That is based on the last year placements. But do you know next 5 years into that? Okay. Then, whether out of this classroom, how many people will get equal to that? And what are the strengths? How will this opportunity come along? But I still stick to the first one, 100% discipline. Okay, unemployment. It may not be in Google and Microsoft. They can join in the next 2 years. College also, small unit also, this is fine. But that gives a lot of re-evaluation. Number two, very important point I was thinking that I also studied many courses. Easy teaching is one side. Easy teaching is two sides. Is only teachers teach, our students also teach. I think that is very important. So I think that's what my son is studying in MIT. He tells one teacher teaches very well, other teacher class is boring. But subject is good. People why? No, it's not engaging me, it's not engaging. So teaching is not just transferring the knowledge. How do you engage these young students to get interest? Are you allowing them to listen from them what they are? Okay. So is it collective learning is possible? Is it making the student groups and teach each other? Because I know the limitations of the faculty. Teaching to 40, 50 people in 1 hour very difficult. Can they small groups teach each other? And maybe this college can try that. I think this two things is very important. I think that's probably.
So before I get to Santosh, Srinath, you had a point?
Yeah. So he actually pointed the direction, that collective part. So what we used to do was to have one paper presentation done by 5 people as a group, and then at the final stages, sometimes we will say your presentations are not going to be presented by you, it's some third person. So you get more challenged that you read more. Our objective was that they read more and more to, have a knowledge in length and breadth and to understand what other person was going to deliver about. And lastly is that teamwork is not there. That has to be inculcated. So somewhere you give them a common problem and they have to come up with a solution or presentation, whichever. But teaming is very crucial.
Again, before coming to you, let me open to the audience and see if anyone has any comments or questions that you would think that would have cooperation between industry and Atria University in particular, on other universities in general. Any questions, comments, anyone? Yeah, Harish.
No, for recording.
Especially they want the recording.
So there's a college in Mumbai called UDCT. I come from the biopharma industry. That university departments collaborated with the industry. So I would strongly encourage that you make a visit to understand, how Reliance, for example, does all of the purification development of petroleum from crude oil to final grade of petroleum and UVC. There is a separate block that is by Reliance and UVC. Reliance controls all the data that comes out of there, all the intellectual property Reliance, but it's set up UVC campus. Actually, there's got an inner building full of chromatography and they do industry projects. So it's a great example. We work very successfully. I think, you could pick up a few things from there.
Anyone else in the audience who has a comment to make and if they're successful in such collaborations?
Thank you, sir. I am Dr. Kiran, founder of I want to thank you. Different types of collaborations. First, for example, we get whether we have a very strong collaboration there. That's one problem statements. One problem is we have to clear those and one more problem statement where we get already the long-term problem statements are given to IIT Hyderabad as a PhD student or an MD student, and then they solve it for us. That's a long-term relation. So, with respect to these contexts, can you help us what kind of collaboration we have?
Okay, so what is yours? 3 minutes to summarize what is that you think we can do for you at Atria University.
Okay, thank you. One is thank you so much for sharing that. You will definitely be interested in things like that. I have one. We can separately when we are in the evening, can talk in specifics that we need. But from a general perspective, like you said, we want our students to solve interesting problem statements, which are real life. And what we are really looking for is 2 things. The lesser thing that we need is how to solve problems. The bigger thing that we need is how to articulate problem statements. Because I think limitations in which academia has till now, we would like to believe that in Atria it's not so much, is that academia has always given problem statements and given solutions, and then through repetition managed to solve a specific problem. So Jagdish was asking, is change happening? Yes, a lot of the university and college systems are now moving to a system where you are given a problem, but you are encouraged to seek a solution, right? And so there definitely we need industry help. What we are trying in Atria University is to go one step further to say, I'm not even going to give you a problem statement because life doesn't serve you problem statements. Life only serves situations from which you have to figure out what you have. So what we are looking from industry is live projects which can build these competencies. On specifics, I can always share that with each of the officers who share it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is mostly so I'm from there for science, so multinational, so it's difficult to work with students that we may have. But the company offers programs for grants for our graduates for grants, where they call out teachers they can apply students from universities, and if they make a full budget. Running projects and roadmaps and exist like outreach. Then we also have operational scholarships, scholarships for the made-up scholarship, specifically in India, both are applicable also. It's all about apprenticeship programs. And they want to give us these interested, we just sign up with a person and they talk to them and come to one. These are the opportunities. Internship is the challenge because we've got intern who sometimes don't take the time. But here are some areas in which it takes an organization to partner. And another thing we do is actually start at the levels where we encourage number one support. And we do this, we don't charge for this. That is something we provide. It's all done. So we get all of the support. We also tell them what it needs to get done.
Sure. Thank you so much. I'll take it.
Really, not very good in sort of institutions because they want them, right? They cannot live without them. As we grow older, professors are. I want to bring your attention to, Dr. Thomas here, because I mentioned about how Monsanto lost many people who are still in kind of connection to tissue culture. It's a very, very high art. And he was telling us when we were enjoying his papaya juice, how difficult it is to tissue culture with papaya plants. But now he has his master plan. So it's available for training students in their interest. Likewise, many other plants also. I just remembered the one I mentioned. Okay, I think the question.
So like taken from extremely recent. So many of our members are taking online live and there are some questions which will be able to put. So first audience seems to be very happy with this next week. So there's a question from Adani Shelvan where he says, please explain more about employability. What do you expect in terms of employability? That's one question. You want me to read one question? Next is, there is a question from Dr. Subramanian Wangla, where he says that the industry likes to file patents while the academia wants to publish. So that's where the difference is, and that is what is causing the rift. And Sai Prakash says that I have had issues with academia. The professors are not focused on market needs and often tend to be casual, which is a problem in business. So these are the few questions.
Who wants to tell me? I guess you're ready.
I can take that. I can take those questions collectively. Of course, all these days. But I think now the highness of the focus and our peers and the industry and academia in part. If we encourage the faculty with incentivization, and then I think Sai Prakash's question is also one of his questions we asked that faculty becomes hard. But and the other thing is, of course, anytime if you can convert that patent into a product, because patenting is a very dangerous game. Just patenting and not meaning after some time, it's like keeping somebody's potential. So unless somebody is able to convert it into a product, I think this should also not.
pushing too hard. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so thank you very much. We are running behind time. So Shobha, you can call the next session, and following that, we must invite Mr. Kaushik Raju again because we want to felicitate him. So please make sure you don't forget that. Okay, Raju, it's yours. Very well. Please give a big hand for all the I hope it was useful. The topic that's going to be open for discussion.
Thank you.
Hopefully. So over to Dr. Raja Mogasimangalam, Chairman of Ibiom, and welcome Mr. Chandrachud from Active to tell us about Ibiom in BTS exhibit at BTS 2023. Without further ado, I will hand it over to him.
Nothing advance. Good evening. Cheta. Thomas Cheta. The university, Professor Santosh, faculties, Ibiom, and all of you for coming. And one nice thing we learned is the ant that jumps out of the queue, or rather from the line. That is what all of us are. Entrepreneurs are the ones who don't normal route, but they go and find that bigger things are built. It's a great analogy. I think Mr. Raju told it. I'll tell a few words about iBiome. So this was started in March 2019, or actually 2019. We started what we call as BBS, called North Bangalore Biotech. Then it became Bangalore Biotech Startup. Then it became iBiome in 3 years, Feb 2022. So we are just 1.5 years old. iBiome itself is a startup. So we look forward to all of your support for the startup to grow and become like a big organization, like in IT you have, and business you have. Um, so our job is to actually train the benefits which government gives, a lot of things which are available in the universities, other places, connect with small startups and MSMEs, and also network between themselves to build business. I think every time we will hear Miturji telling lot of new things which things came out of Ibiom, benefited out of Ibiom. People need not be here. We are running totally 12 different groups, and totally 1,000 plus people are there in the groups, WhatsApp groups. It's starting from COVID supplies time. We have COVID supplies. We have biopharma group. We have now the group, the Talaivas, we call Talaivis group. We have a Mysore group, Pune group. So we have different WhatsApp groups and different ways of connecting all of them. That's the whole idea. So this is our group of trustees, totally 8 of us. And then this is the IIM Secretariat. Shobhaji is here. And thank you, Shailaja. You took the best pictures for yourself. That's good. Go to the next. So I think thanks to them, they were the ones who were working behind the scene and before the scene also. So how does Ibiom work? Ibiom is a not-for-profit trust. So we expect people to come forward, and also we have different stage. Like if you're a startup, to start, you can just actually you are asking no, you can become a member yourself. The lady was behind, yeah. Become a member yourself, no permission needed. Anybody, that's only some 2,500 rupees you can pay and become. And then depending on the size of the company, you can give to Monsanto's and large companies can go for the platinum members. So a lot of people are joining, and we are going to have to do better and better in serving the startup and MSME community. Next slide, please. So now we are coming to the main thing, what we call as our family wedding. Every year it happens. This is the Bangalore Tech Summit. Previously it was called as Bangalore Biotech Summit. It was only Bangalore Bio Conference. Now all tech. So you'll have AI, computers, this technology, that technology, everything together. Biotech Summit. We spoke with the GA and also Emma Mac. Today they will speak after me. How we can support each other and what we can do. So this is 2022. So we had a Ibiom Lane or Ibiom Avenue. That was in B2022. I think 20 stalls were there. So 20 different startups came. So those days, we actually already the startup stalls were subsidized by the government. It was only 25,000 rupees. So we were a little bit cheeky. We subsidized what government subsidized. This is like in ration shop. We are going and giving additional subsidy than the government. Actually, Chetan, actually, he got the price there. So some of them we gave only for 2,000 rupees. So we got funds from larger companies, even our own, some of the companies put money, Thermo Fisher, and then we subsidized the startups. So this time we thought it's 24,000, you can go directly and log in. So these are visitors coming, youngsters coming. So we also had along the side, we had a prizes, best prize award for the stalls. So this year, it's very important. All of you, even from Tamil Nadu, I think some of you are on the YouTube, Pune, Mysore, all these come because we are going to bring. Last time it was only academic professors were the judges, most of them. This year it is going to be VCs, angel investors and investors. So they are not only going to judge your stall, they are going to judge your business also. So please come over, and then this prize, yeah, it's not only going to be certificates, it might be cash awards or even funding to your company or maybe big business for you. Anything can happen. So we are going to bring a bunch of investors as the judges. So that is an additional reason why you have to come to this, become the stall. And then anyway, Thomas got the best award, second best award in ours. And in the GOK, he got the first best award. And he also knew how to take care of the judges, right? He learned that part. Yeah, with passion, with passion. So I don't know what he has spiked. He has spiked with something good, I think. So these are all the prize distribution. Everyone gets prize. See, another thing, no, like school children, every stall will get a prize. Please come. So you can put it in your website and everywhere you got an award. Everyone gets a prize. Another reason you should take the stall there. Go ahead. So Tech Summit is coming. The exhibit stalls are, though my friend Chandrachud will soon come and tell what and all will come there. It's, I think, 25,000 bucks, and you can directly go and log in and book everything. And we will help promote you. So first is, this is a exclusive discounted rates for the Ibiom lane. So if you come inside, if you go into the main website, they are giving only for the first 100 companies. I think it's almost over. And also you'll get scattered all around the place. Here, all biotech companies and all medtech, agtech, everything will be together. That's first thing. And then the stall excellence awards is something which I'm just leaking the question paper and the answer paper. Everyone will get an award. And then exclusive networking for you with investors, clients. We are going to bring press, and of course, Biotechnica will cover the Ibiom lane specially, right? All 3 days with full spirit. Okay. Right, that's also going to happen. So now let me introduce to MM Active. I think you all know MM Active, right? MM Active is the real power behind geocase all events. If you remove MM Active, I don't know what will happen. So they are the specialists. They can do, I know them from very, very long time. I think Mithur also should know them. Starting from genset, whether there is diesel in it, which contractor will put what, I don't think I can do it. Actually, we copied our genomics conference from MM Active, and MM Active people also helped us. So MM Active is a part of our, I think, this biotech IT tech revolution in Karnataka. MM Active played a major role. I think Biospectrum is with you, right? Biospectrum is with you. I think you will cover Biospectrum, right? All our stalls, additional, each and every stall. See, every stall will be covered in Biospectrum. So that is an addition. See, for covering in press, people are charging, you may not know, 1 lakh rupees, 2 lakh rupees, what is called as advertorials. So you will get it in Biotechnica free of cost. MM Active will cover in Biospectrum, and of course through Ibiom channels. So these are all lots of additional benefits I don't want to add, why you should come. But MM Active is really active, that much I can say very well. And now it's over to Chandrachud, and we will also release the brochure with the Ibiom lane after he finishes. To if our Mr. Raju is coming, we can release to him and then do it. Yeah. Okay. Now over to Chandrachud. Bani. Don't be nervous.
Good evening, everyone. To introduce myself, I'm Chandrachud from MM Active. And thank you for your kind words about MM Active, sir. So, to speak about Bengaluru Tech Summit, this year's theme is going to be breaking boundaries. And as Sir said, IBM has been supporting Bengaluru Tech Summit from its inception. So last year, there were around 20 companies that had participated under IBM Pavilion. This year also, we are expecting the same. And in fact, we have a separate link that is created for IBM specifically. And as Sir said, for first 100 startups, it is 25,000. But for IBM, even if they register on the day before the event, it's going to remain the same. That is the opportunity that is being given to IBM. So to add what, like Sir was saying, before 2017, there were 2 different events. One was Bangalore IT.com and the other one was Bangalore India Bio. So it came under one. It came as a one entity in 2017, and it was called Bengaluru Tech Summit. From then, the same brand name is being continued. And yes, to speak about last year's analytics, there were close to 600 exhibitors participating in this event. And I handle startups in Bengaluru Tech Summit, and I'm proud to say that more than 70% of the exhibitors were startups. Around 385 exhibitors were startups, in fact. So this year, again, we are trying to achieve that same goal, at least by one number. Uh, and yeah, I will look forward to for all the help from Ibiom Avenue as well. Thank you.
So here is the brochure, and the back side of it you have a QR code to reach the Ibiom. Yeah, and use it as directly to so you can tell a little bit more. So as you said, 600 startups are expecting.
So 600 startups are expected. I think from Ibiom, we should bring 60 startups. So we already said free press, that is 3 different press, Biotechnica, Biospectrum and Ibiom, and we are going to bring another press, and you're almost going to get everything, right?
To add on to that, there are so many networking opportunities as well in the Tech Summit. So one is at the exhibition level, all the exhibitors have an open field. They can visit each other's stall. They can collaborate. They can partner with each other, or they can brainstorm their ideas as well. And with each stall, when I say stall for a startup, we'll be giving a 4 square meter stall, that is 2 meter by 2 meter. All the necessary things will be provided along with the table, chair, everything. Even the company name will be provided from our end. So, and each stall booking will get a all access pass, one complimentary all access pass, which basically allows the person to get into the conference area. So there are 5 different tracks that are happening parallelly to the exhibition. One of which is dedicated to biotech, the other one is dedicated to startups. So there are a few exciting sessions that are lined up this year as well. I'm happy to announce that Nobel laureate and American biologist Robert Howells has confirmed his presence virtually. He'll be having a fireside chat with Dr. Kiran Mazumdar-Shah. That is one of the highlights of the biotech track as well. So, and also there are the different ways of networking, as I said earlier. There is something called as interlinks, which is basically a scheduling software, a networking scheduling software. So it works like any social media platform. You can just send in a request to any delegate. If at all it is accepted from their end, you can have a meeting there, then and there at the event as well. So these are one of the few good takeaways from this event as well.
So thank you, Chandra, and we will officially launch it when Mr. Raju comes. Yep. Over to you.
Thank you. And I think we'll all meet again in the BTS in the Ibiom Lane. So the tea and coffee, I understand, is getting cold. So you want some hot coffee tea. I'm sure it's time for a break. Oh, budgies. So, okay, so we'll have a tea break now. But when you come back, there's going to be a talk by Mr. Kirit Javli, who is the Supreme Advocate from Supreme Court. And he has supported Ibiom at all stages from its inception to what we are today. So thank you very much, sir, for being here today. He's a very busy person. I'm getting to see him for the first time. Thank you. So I think all of you have the bhajis, the coffee, tea, and come back for this. And we also have more exciting felicitation and other things lined up for you. Contracts and agreements, basics to advanced nuances. So I'm going to explain what it is. Okay. Yeah. joined in. Hope you had good tea, enjoyed the snacks. Upasana is the person who organized all this for us. So thank you, Upasana.
Let me get them all in.
Yeah. So now is the much awaited talk by the busiest person in the room, Mr. Kirit Jawali. He tells no. So humility personified. So Dr. Raja will introduce Kirit and then we will listen to him. Over to you, Raja.
Okay, folks, let us get started. I'm very pleased to introduce Mr. Kirit Javali, right? Javali, okay. It's in Hindi, it is Javali. Yeah, Javali, okay. So he appeared, I know his name because in able people used to talk about him. So in our first BBS meeting, he appeared. He was there, part of our first BBS meeting. We were only some 12 people. And then he only suggested us that we should start registering and doing, though we did it for many other purposes. He was instrumental in this becoming Ibiom, BBS as a informal WhatsApp group becoming Ibiom, thanks to him. I think one little appreciation. And we also work with him. See, he is a lawyer in the Indian Supreme Court. See, we all think that you go to a lawyer, the problem will start, right? Many people go to a lawyer only to start a problem, because otherwise you could have settled it yourself. So our experience with him is, we are still working with him for Ibiom. Many thanks to him. He gives the right advice on how to do so that the mess don't start. So we end up in a mess. So our example is, we end up in a mess with the largest genomics company. Obviously, I didn't want to end up in a mess. They ended up in a mess. So we have to pay them a huge sum. But thanks to him, they had huge, big lawyers. Actually, if we have to fight them, I'm finished on that day itself. Start fighting. Yeah. And your legal advice actually made all the difference, or the mails exchanged and all. The kind of deal finally we got, I can't tell, because they might sue me now. If because it's going live, if they hear it, they might sue me back now. So we got whatever we want, and they thought they got whatever they want was the final thing we got done. So actually, whatever I have to be paid, I got all the things free of cost for the items. And then whatever we have to pay, we didn't pay fully. So we settled. So that I don't know how we settled and all, I will not tell. And then later on, whenever we need help, all the legal, sometimes writing, then we learned that why to start a mess. See, many of us know we just sign all agreements. The white people send some agreement, you all think white people are fair. Please don't believe it. You see what's happening in Israel. You see what is happening in Russia. You see what is happening in US. It's all mess. The white people are not fair. They are no fairer than us. Actually, we use Nyaya and Dharma and all they don't use. The guy will sign. He may not be even there to come and talk with us. So it is better to read what is there, make changes, or refuse to sign, and then later on many agreements, I signed and sent, but in one part of the agreement I would have put a dash and say I object to it. Many of the times the fellows have not even reading it. They said Raja has sent back the thing, keep it in the files. But I have already removed whatever I want. Many things you have to do, so it's very important. You consult legally whatever agreements you sign. Today it may not matter, but tomorrow it will matter. And I all assume you are not just the ants which just skipped the queue and went out. You're going to make hundreds of thousands of ants come behind you. So legally you have to be right, and how to make the contract, how to do that, basics he will tell, but you have to work with somebody like him. Over to you, Kirit. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Raja. It's been a great opportunity to be here, and I'm grateful to Dr. Raja, Dr. Mittur, and all the members of Ibiom. It's been a pleasure interacting with them for the last 3-4 years,
And though I have been associated with biotech companies more on the bio-agri from 2005 and had set up associations in the past. Also with Able, I was the legal advisor for a period of time. So having that's a separate chapter. But what I really wanted to discuss was basically, I understand a lot of startups require guidance and advice. Contract management is something which is very, very important. And as we go forward and as the company grows, these things become very important. And notwithstanding the fact there are companies who have in-house lawyers, but sometimes these contracts are not drafted effectively, and that is where these problems arise. And then you're just chasing for either a small amount or a bigger amount. And the idea is, my own advice is, don't waste your time going to court. If you can settle, cut your losses and settle. It's a waste of time because you will then divert your negative energies in litigation or arbitration. Of course, you have to have those clauses, which I will discuss in terms of what clauses are important in these contracts. But the important part is to find a solution and move on, because you have so much passion and you've invested so much time and energy in trying to build up this business that you don't want some issues cropping up and then diverting your negative energies in something which is a waste of time. Again, easier said than done. We will not exist if these challenges don't come up. So of course, that is something is always there. But no matter how experienced a company or professionals within the company are, there are sometimes challenges, and there's no one straight jacket answer for every solution, but you have to work around it. So essentially, what I'm really going to talk is a bit on what type of contracts really exist in the biopharma sector. Again, there are need-based, there are specific agreements, depending on what is the nature of work which you are undertaking or what purpose your company has been incorporated. So again, the various stakeholders, you can move. Next. So contract, as all of you know, of course, exists between two entities, and it could be between two companies, B2B or B2C, or even the employee contracts become extremely important. And that is where a lot of employees who spend a lot of time also are an important vital cog of the company. These contracts become very, very important when you negotiate employee contracts, especially those who are not necessarily a director or a promoter, but maybe a shareholder, but also then seeks sweat equity because of his expertise, and which is why the company is growing. So all these contracts, employee contracts, are also very, very important. Not taken very seriously at the initial stages, because startups feel this is routine. He's an employee, no problem. And I will touch upon confidentiality agreements, which I mentioned going forward. So the main contracts, of course, is equipment, R&D licensing, intellectual property licensing. Then there's, of course, clinical trial agreements, more specific. Then material transfer agreements, which are more specific to this sector. Then if you obviously rent space, then you need lease deeds. Then collaboration, joint venture agreements, invention assignment, technology transfer. So you could be doing something within the country or outside with foreign companies. So those contracts need to be very, very carefully vetted in what bargaining position you are, and seeing your own growth going forward. How do we draft these contracts? The liability clause is something which is very, very important. You have the basic mechanics of what you're joining hands for and where and what. But the liability to minimize your losses is something which is very important. The main clauses which really are important is your licensing and IP rights. This is a vital interest to this sector, because there are companies who are into formulation, there are companies into diagnostics, clinical trials, various aspects which different companies pursue. And how do you commercialize your IP? The licensing agreement becomes very important, and how to cash on that. That is something which you really need to understand. And prior to all these, you need a confidentiality non-disclosure agreement. That is not taken very seriously, because people feel, oh, I met you, okay, we discuss everything about and everything, but you don't record it because you don't know what has been disclosed, and he may be a competitor and he runs away with your idea. Ideas are not protectable. Copyright, you need to copyright those things. Hence, before you disclose anything, sign an NDA for whatever it's worth. I'm not saying you can rush to court and challenge it right away. Even in due course, employees also who work with you for many years take away data, and then you rush to court trying to prevent them to enforce those contracts, and that is something which is very important because employees can cause a lot of damage, especially the employees who are obviously the vital role which they play in the companies. So, sorry. So, yeah, talking about employees, I know I'm stressing more on that, but a lot of these startups have employees who are in and around, and you need to take care of their interest to build that company and then provide them with sweat equity or some shareholding. And again, that also you need to understand uh, those have other aspects when the company grows. Whether is he a minority shareholder, is he a majority shareholder, and if he exits, what are your challenges? So there are many facets to consider while you draft these contracts. Then ESOP contracts. So it's not just the scientific and technical contracts which you need to take care of, but it's also these aspects which are equally important. Why do we have a written confidentiality agreement? Confidentiality agreements are standard and expected parts of most deals. There's a protection of trade secrets, which can be lost if they're disclosed without a written agreement. Contracts are typically easier to enforce. Next. So, are you more likely to receive or disclose information? Whether you're primarily disclosing information or receiving information uh, will drive some of your strategy for the structure of the confidentiality agreement. A licensee's interest is different from a licensee's. A licensee typically wants the exclusions from uh, confidential information to be as broad as possible and permission to disclose all information to the licensee's advisors and representatives. So a licensor typically wants exclusions to be as narrow as possible, contain other restrictions. There's a loose connection in this. Yeah. So the main contents of a confidentiality agreement are the parties. Then what is the definition of confidential information, which I'll discuss in a bit. That is very vital. What is confidential about the information? Exceptions to the confidentiality in terms of what needs to be disclosed uh, to the in terms of the law, by if you're required by court to disclose something which you're bound to. Then what is the permitted use and restrictions on disclosure? Then what is the term of this agreement? And if things do go wrong, then what is the information which is required to be returned? Then, of course, the remedies and the other provisions. So the principal parties to the transaction are the licensor and licensee. Most agreements limit disclosures to third parties, but permit disclosures on some basis to affiliates and representatives, both of which are on negotiated terms. The disclosing party typically asks that the recipient be responsible for unauthorized disclosures by its representatives. So there are big companies who sometimes share this information within their own company, and it extends to the employees, agents, and that is where, when you're a smaller company, you need to take care of this, because the big company realizes that you have a value and expertise and something of interest to them, which is where you need to have a bargaining power and draft your contracts very carefully. Sorry, go back. So, what is confidential information? Which is central. It is central to any confidentiality agreement. The types of matters that are typically categorized as confidential include scientific, technical, or business information, derivative of scientific, technical, or business information, the transaction itself, and then what are the exceptions to confidentiality? Either it has become part of the public domain or through a breach of the agreement with the recipient, or it was available to the recipient on a non-confidential basis before disclosure. It was already in the recipient's possession or becomes available through a third party, not bound by confidentiality agreement or obligation. It is independently developed by the recipient without using the confidential information. Disclosures are sometimes required by law, so that is a standard thing. So the term is also important. What is the duration of the contract? So upon termination, you're bound to give the information back. If you don't give the information back, that is where you can sue the company or the employee. Again, as I mentioned, you need to provide the information back within a certain stipulated time. The recipients often want the option to destroy the information instead of returning it to the disclosing party. You need to have language that allows them to keep copies of the information for archival or evidentiary purposes if it is required to do so under law or professional standards. Next. So, apart from these clauses, you also need to have certain injunctive relief clauses in addition to monetary damages. So while all this sounds very standard and basic, but it comes to bite you very hard when things do go wrong. And that is where these contracts become very, very important. So whole essence of the contract is to see what am I getting into, what is the bargaining power, what am I going to achieve, what is the duration. And if things do go wrong, what do I minimize my loss and take away from this? Then you have, of course, this is more specific to the biopharma industry. Material transfer agreements. These are agreements for purposes of documenting the transfer of materials from one party to another. Often this arises in the context of university researchers receiving materials to seek to replicate results achieved from another lab. Life sciences startups receive materials from labs. Then it addresses rights and obligations with respect to the use of the materials. Then provisions addressing ownership of the materials, and sometimes also IP rights arising from the use of the transferred materials. What are the reasons for an MTA? Provider wants to restrict how the material is to be used. The material is infectious, hazardous, or subject to special regulations. Provider wishes to protect against any potential liability. The provider wishes to ensure that correct and appropriate acknowledgement is included in any publication regarding the use of the material. And the material is proprietary. You might want to protect the material as a literature in terms of Copyright Act, because it may not necessarily be a process right away. So if it's a formulation, you might want to protect it as a copyright, especially in terms of, say, bioinformatics. So you can have protection in the Copyright Act. So you protect your material. And then the provider wishes to obtain rights to the results of the research which material is to be used. Again, important considerations in MTA is the definition of the material, which includes original material, progeny, and unmodified derivatives. Usually excludes modifications and modified derivatives, but not necessarily always. There are restrictions on use of the material for research use only, not for use in humans. Then who owns the material? Ownership rights are important to be spelled out. Recipient has only right to possess and use for research. consider impact of provider owning the material, it is critical to review how the material is defined. Then, of course, confidentiality, warranty, and indemnification, so that this material is not misused and the contract is not breached. Then there's also consulting agreements with vendors, advisors. These are again also equally important. You need to understand the background check of what vendors you're dealing with in terms of confidentiality, and especially also with the employees, because there are also external agencies which you're dealing with. So these contracts also uh, attain some importance, and in the larger scheme of things, it's equally important. So again, this agreement is equally important after the confidentiality disclosure agreement. Next. Then, of course, IP rights are important contribution by the consultant to work product. Then certain IP rights arise. Then the assignment and assumptions. Next. Compliance is very, very important. These days, it's very stringent. We've had changes to the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. You have the clinical trials of 2019. So a lot of changes. Sometimes it's often there's too many notifications, too many regulatory interference, which is the case. But compliance is something now round the clock, and you need a very strong team to understand and to meet the deadlines for compliance. And that is equally an important part of your due diligence. And when you enter into these contracts, because those issues also crop up in terms of what breach could take place. Then data protection is equally important. It's all about data and the time and energy which you've invested in creating that data, which is vital. Company policies, I'm just deviating slightly. You need a lot of companies don't have sexual harassment policies. You need internal complaints committees formed. So that is also very, very important now. And companies, these issues are there in a larger multinational, but the smaller companies, it's equally important to create these internal complaints committee for sexual harassment. Then insurance contracts are also important. Take the right policies. Then, of course, indemnification, then limiting your liability, and the role played by the consultant as an independent contractor. Finally, you have an all-embracing contract known as the Master Services Agreement, which is omnibus, which basically defines what the entire project, what you're undertaking to do with the company, and what you contract you wish to undertake. So there are multiple projects under the MSA, and then it defines what the scope of work and services will be, like a service level agreement, different stages. MSA provides more consistency and clarity of approach between the parties, long-term arrangements, convenience, efficiency, cost saving, and standardization and quality control. So you should have a key team amongst your employees who are designated to monitor these contracts and to see that the contracts are being complied, not only within compliance, but also in terms of the other party, how these contracts are being monitored. That helps a lot so that you minimize litigation. These are standard clauses which in MSA covers responsibilities of the parties, governance, project management. Yeah. So essentially, I've covered that. Any questions, happy to answer. Any practical questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Kirit, in your experience, has there been an instance where you had to deal with resolving a conflict between two original founders of a startup company? Doesn't matter which domain it is, IT or whatever it is. Because generally what happens is, two people get together, the same thing, right? They get into a contract without going into all the without going into all the nuances of what we discussed. And if you had such an instance, can you give us how you handle it, or anyone else who might have it?
There are instances, not necessarily just startups or biotechs. I emphasize on the employees. Employees. The employees become very, very vital. I don't mean to say the employees, targeting employees, but employees who have the expertise and who are, as I said, are not necessarily promoters or directors, but are shareholders and given sweat equity. They are a vital cog to the entire setup, and they are poached by a rival company or a rival startup and to expand their own services. So that is something, these disputes between employees and companies who poach and wipe out your entire set of employees. These are challenges which I've dealt with. And that is something which you need to, again, monitor. That's why the employee contract is very, very vital. The commerciality in terms of what the breach happens, in terms of performance obligations, that is routine which happens. You are expected to do something which you did not do. These are your obligations in the contract which you didn't fulfill. Then, of course, you have a dispute resolution clause. Either you go to court. I will always tell them, try and settle. It's a waste of time. You try and mediate, and if you can settle, cut your losses, because you did have a working relationship for some time, but it did not succeed for whatever reasons. And maybe your approach and what you were thinking at that point in time, maybe the milestones were not achieved, and you assumed something and something else turned out in terms of performance. So obviously one party is always underperforming or not realize their fulfill their potential.
Anyone else has a question?
I'm an HR guy. So when you talk about non-compete clauses, especially for the senior management, CXO levels and all, yeah. So I always got this feeling that how much can we enforce it? So the next question is, so to avoid that, what I did was, in fact, the board also decided and agreed to my this thing that you need to show a case that you are investing on the employee. So all your cost towards training and everything is well validated. At the second time, what we do is, suppose it's a 6 months non-compete, a non-solicitation, and also probably a year, we used to give every month an affidavit has to come from the employee that I am not employed anywhere, and we pay a salary. So effectively, we are not depriving him of his employment, but we are also compensating for it, but we don't want to join competition. I found this much logical than they sign a non-compete clause. How can a person? Yeah. Yeah.
Can't bind him properly. You can't have a bond for 5 years. But what we can't do, it's not about joining, you can't hold him. The confidentiality becomes important, that he doesn't take the IP or the data and starts his own company and then uses your contacts, your connections, your materials, and benefits from that. That is where then you go to court to stall him immediately and stamp him out. But other than that, you can't bind somebody. Yes. Yes, that's right. That's right.
Two more questions, three more questions. Sai, Shefali, and Madhav. 4 questions. No, because they have to record it.
Actually, sir, very interesting. This is what is required by a small company also, because we may not be able to hire this service of person like you. Recently, I was just doing a collaboration agreement between an Indian e-learning company and an Irish company. Indian e-learning company and an Irish company. They put a simple clause, all things subject to Irish courts. It could be such a big problem because you cannot go and, so simple things like that, you will be able to guide. That's a very interesting thing.
Otherwise, you will not be able to hire or you will not be able to afford the litigation to hire. So that is a very, very vital clause. Nobody realizes that. It comes to fight very hard later on. I've had experience of big Indian companies who thought it's nice to go to London. Let's have this arbitration in London. When we didn't go, he said, oh, some manager decided 5 years ago, not something now. And I don't know. You have to budget very little, very important. Singapore and London, there is contrast. Singapore is great. It's one of the best countries for arbitration. But the cost is 1/3 of what it is in London. So if you don't take care of those clauses, then you got the 5 years clauses. It's a cut base which is not quite different. But there's a lot of thought which happens in those clauses. There's a lot of litigation on those arbitration clauses.
So drafting was causing
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Javli, for the talk. I have a different sort of question. Are there any stricter regulations for licensing out materials which involve biomaterials like DNA or any kind of? The reason I'm asking is this: when people sign software license agreements, they have a way of manipulating the technology to create a mold to make it stop working if their buyer doesn't pay them. Whereas in our space, where the materials are biomaterials or chemicals, if there is a knowledge transfer agreement with somebody and the buyer doesn't honor every clause that you said, at least agree upon technically, there is no way for us to take it back. So, is there any greater legal provision to protect interests of people like us? Yeah.
It's a question of contract you're entering into. Again, industry specific and the nuances of each sector has to be catered for. So in terms of what contract is basically, you need to obviously tie those clauses.
Correct. Which is what I was asking. Are there special legal provisions?
There's no special legal provision. I mean, it's just that you will say that if you do not perform what was expected, then those remedies are speaking of warning signs. So you have to work around that so that it doesn't go completely south. Like the way I know strategically decided we had some marketing. When we were starting my challenge is how do we market companies to make sure that you've got such a legal person who knows something about all the things that I was discussing, applicable to like I'm here, some of them already have very good advice. Others who have not, please stop them and make sure that you do all these things before something goes wrong.
Hello, sir. My name is Madhav Raj. Sir, can you just tell most of people like us? See, a person who is setting up a company is always what you say, is encompassed with so many of these things. But as you rightly said, these legal contracts they become one of the essential things. God forbid something were to go wrong. So somewhere, can you just guide people that at what point of time that they should actually, is it that we draft our own standard formats, or the standard formats available, or at what stage, suppose say someone sends in their, that is that CDAs or MSAs or whatever they come to us. So at what stage, we should actually take an intervention from a legal person?
Right at the inception, because before things really develop, and you will of course incorporate a legal entity, be it a proprietorship or LLP company or LLP or a private limited company. So at that stage itself, you should do hand holding with the lawyer, so that if you are in the software or biotech, your IP rights are very important. So while nothing might have transferred or transpired immediately, but going forward, you will need protection of your trademark name, brand name, your copyright. So, and you will also have negotiations with potential vendors or parties, or so you need to have NDAs. So, right at the beginning, if you have somebody in-house or an external counsel who will handhold you, obviously you're not a big company right away. Due diligence is required right at the beginning. So again, facts and circumstances and setup each company is different. But if you handle right at the beginning, it will help you a long way going forward. Rather than, okay, I'll save some pennies and I'll draft my own contract. That's the challenge a lot of entrepreneurs, especially the scientific field, don't pay attention to. Because people feel it's all available in the internet, cut paste. They don't know what those clauses, how they interpreted in court, what the impact it happens. And then you're groping in the dark. And by then the damage is done. Then you're wasting energy trying to see how things will.
Okay.
Last question for this.
Okay. Last question as well as advice from Jack of all trades. Yes. So when you whenever you deal with a large company, add this non-compete column. That is, you say that we will not hire each other's employees for the next 3 years. So otherwise, what will happen? No, you will do a deal. After 6 months, it happened to us. That company will hire all of your people one by one, and then they need not work with you. So now the question is, we had one such. So now I will add this clause invariably to 80. Even when I'm distributing something, that will be there. When we work with startups, yeah, poaching, anti-poaching kind of. So what happened was in one company, they hired our person after the person left Genotypic. After 1 year, they hired in the same project. So I told them, hey, you are having it. Then they said, look, my HR didn't know about it, that we have this agreement. So I said, that is your problem. You cannot have. So finally, what we agreed was they put that person in another project which was not connected with the work they did. But that's all rubbish. Okay. If I want, now the question is, can I take them to court?
That's why I say, I mean, we do have systems in place, but it's slow. I mean, you could do it for cheating or breach of trust from the criminal angle. But again, nobody wants to pursue those remedies because it takes long and you don't want to deal with the cops unless the damage is so much. You need to. It only makes sense if 15 employees have been poached and your data is being used. Then and unless you go on a criminal way, there's no pressure felt by anybody. So civil courts takes time and the heat is not good.
So, but they actually now became a deterrent. Became a deterrent.
Once you've given the knowledge, then you effectively have no leverage. So that is the problem that.
See, that's why what the employee has created for you, it doesn't belong to him because he's obviously working with you. It belongs to the company.
No, I was talking about the reason for organization.
Yes.
How do you, for example, you mentioned that international single evaluation is rather than single. Of course, both are, trying to go and tackle anybody. Either is going to be a daunting task. So, is there any other idea of the international clause? Is there any such clause that protects the creator of that?
Protects the
Creator of that.
Yes, I mean, you will register your rights in terms of patent act or you go to the PCT.
Despite that.
Yeah.
Despite that.
No, despite that, there is an all-embracing dispute resolution clause. Then that you will enforce either the courts through an arbitration clause, preferably. I would suggest you always have a jurisdiction clause to say any disputes will take place in courts of Bangalore or courts of California, wherever. But foreign American company will always say California because they'll get the process quicker and they'll come here. But then it's a challenge to enforce that award here. Because by then, I would have advised the client here, transfer your assets before the damage is done. Because what will you enforce? It's a paper degree. So those are practical suggestions which happen later on.
Okay, obviously this is a very, very interesting but complex field, and I think we need to be proactive is what I think Kirit is telling us. So please be proactive even when it means you have to spend some money. Ibiom is always there, at least to connect you to Kirit in any which way you can, and then we'll take it forward. So please give a big hand to Kirit. And then
I don't need this.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So glad to see Kaushik back here. Thank you, Kaushik, for coming back. And then since your father could not be here, we wanted to felicitate Atria University, represented by Kaushik. But before that, I want to read a small paragraph that again I saw in LinkedIn. And this is when Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, the Indian government's finance minister, came here to open the university. She said, it's the title, I think, of that small meeting they had was Beyonder Emergence and Green Future Summit. So she said, the manner in which Atria University is designed and put together was praised by Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, the Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs. She commented, quote, Atria University has demonstrated that even for a 16-year-old, hands-on learning experience are the ones which are actually going to speed up skilling of young minds, she continued. While IITs have, I lost that. While IITs have attempted to teach in their own era, India needs such new thinking strategies. So in order for Ibiom to really pay due respect to that, we wish to honor Atria University being represented by Kaushik. So Raja, can you please come?
Workshop of the trustees, please. Manish is wrong. Workshop, please come.
We are crowning them.
We will also release the
one. No, the open one, we can do.
So they put our logo.
Yes, sir.
So you're releasing that. Please go.
You are, you can clear it open. Yeah, there is.
See you all at BTS. So, Shobha, next very exciting talk. They have two very interesting talks, one by digital marketing as well as so. Apparently, the way to get to the world is through digital marketing, and Shekhar Suman from Biotechnica has proven that. And apparently, he's got several million, 4.5 million followers of Biotechnica. That's an amazing feat. So he's trying to tell us, you've got to master the art of digital marketing. And I was trying to tell my friend Sridhar Gampala about this, and they're also into Agri-App, and they're also trying to reach out to the farmers, which is much more difficult than reaching to the students. So they're doing a wonderful job in terms of reaching multiple languages. But if you have some tips towards companies improving their digital marketing skills, please can we share that?
Hey everybody, good evening. My name is Shekhar. We represent a company called Biotechnica, which started as a job portal. Then we got into multiple skill development courses, and now the media arm is also, like you can see, we are live streaming. So last 17 years has been really enriching in terms of digital marketing. We have really seen the era of Facebook coming up and going away, and now that Instagram. So how this is relevant to all of you, that's important today to address first. You see, as a biotech company, whether you are in a product development phase, or you're just in the idea phase, or you are in the revenue generation phase, whether it is B2B or B2C, discoverability is the key. If you get discovered, for example, we are here right now at Ibiom. So we are getting discovered. We are networking with each other. We're getting discovered, right? So if you are getting discovered by the right guy, then you have a deal. Okay. So even though you may have $1 billion product, you will keep going home every day frustrated, thinking that nobody is ever going to buy my product. But if you are in front of the right customer, who's going to buy, or the right investor. Now, what goes right or wrong with all of us is we think that we are startups. So we have lack of resources. See, we have lack of maybe monetary resources, but we don't have lack of brain resources. That's something we have to agree to, right? Now, if whether you have a website or not, whether you have a LinkedIn profile or not, whether you have a app or not, does not matter. If you want your deals to go through, you have to be discoverable, and that is where digital marketing comes into picture. So that's all about the importance. So what happened is we launched a reagent sales business. So we were like, okay, we'll procure the stuff from clients like vendors, and then we'll sell it to the research companies. And we branded it as Biotechnica Prime, famously after Amazon Prime. So, but we were up against, you know whom? Thermo Fisher. And I'm sure all of you know. And that is where we discovered this happened like 5 years ago. We discovered that Thermo Fisher is the real dawn of biotech digital marketing. Okay. And we started learning from them. They are not just too good in supply chain and they're not too good in the offline market. They are really good in online market. You will not believe at that point in time they had 8,64,000 keywords indexed and they were ranking #1 on Google. Even today, 13 million views or visits they get through Google, right? Now, you'll be like, hey, I'm a small guy, like a two-membered company. How is this relevant to me? You see, why a company so huge will still pay so much attention to digital marketing, to search engine optimization, to the app optimization or whatever they do. So that is where we took on to Thermo Fisher and we had a battle and for some keywords we won, for some keywords we lost. You see, you have lack of resources, so you can't really advertise on Google or Facebook, right? But if you are able to do some kind of optimization on your website and it starts ranking #1 for that particular product, imagine the kind of leads you can get. And it is very simple, you have to know this. If 1,000 people visited your website or app, 10 people will inquire, one person will pay. This is the ratio you have to know. So no matter what field you are, the 10% formula, 10%, 1% formula works. Okay. So for example, right now, suppose 10 people are watching, and if I'm trying to sell something, one person may inquire and 0.1% will pay. Right. So you have to keep this in mind, and then accordingly, you have to optimize your website or online presence. The more you do, the better. And at any point in time, you require our services. We are right here to help you. Whether it is backlinks to boost your SEO or whether any kind of help. And now that AI has come, you really don't need to sit and do it. The AI can do it for you also. That is also an advantage. So the bottom line here is, if, for example, Biotechnica is right now the world's 11th most visited biology website. Okay, the top 10 are obviously US ones, the news website and all. But we actually reached up to the 4th rank, according to SimilarWeb. But we could reach there only because of course, digital marketing. And the more presence we have, for example, right now, we are creating digital presence through online. You click a picture, post it on LinkedIn or Twitter, you may think that nobody's ever going to discover. But you will not believe a 14-year-old's tweet landed as a push notification to me 3 days back. I was like, why this is happening? Because the algorithm thought that it might be, relevant to me. Okay. So even if you are posting, just put the right hashtags, right keywords, it's going to help you a lot in getting deals done. Okay. And like my first talk here in Ibiom was personal branding, but over a period of time, I recognized that a lot of search engine optimization, branding, and being in present of the right customer is required. If we are not in front of the right customer, even though we have the best product in the world, we will never be able to sell. And most of you, with due respect, are scientists. You do science best, but marketing is something as a co-founder we will have to learn. Because if we don't, then someone else sitting in a garage will replace us. Thank you.
Just to elaborate, now how AI is making digital marketing, you said, no? Just tell me one example so that we understand.
So we had a workshop, I think, with Raja sir about the Excel and AI tools, and there we had a discussion on this also. So I would like to highlight, most of us go to ChatGPT and type the question and we get rubbish answers, right? And that's a trick. There's something called as prompt engineering. If we learn that, we can definitely do better. Second thing will be ChatGPT is just one tool. There are 100,000 more tools which can be used to generate content. And I'm proud to say this on camera live right now that the entire Biotechnica runs by no humans now. Like, we are running completely AI based. So the AI discovers the content, finds if it is relevant, creates the image, creates the content, and publishes it online, and puts my photo, thinking people will think that I posted, but hey, I'm right here. Right? So yeah, that happens. It's completely being operated by AI. You have to know this, that the world's largest tech, which is right now valued at 22 billion. Of course, they're not doing great, is Byju's. And even they are hosted on a CRM called as WordPress. And WordPress is very friendly for you as a scientist. It is like plug and play. And that's where even we are hosted on WordPress. And that's the best thing you can do. If you want to take on the might of Thermo Fisher, because Thermo Fisher is too good. They do workshops, webinars like a pro, but you can beat them if you are competing with them, with due respect to anybody. And especially to those guys who are into the B2C market, like you have a cosmetic product, food product, beverage product, take Instagram seriously. That's your playground. Okay, Instagram is the playground, and the AI thing, it's not just ChatGPT. There are 100+ tools we can take care of that. Thank you.
Any other?
Yes. Any other questions? Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you for telling us how to make more money. So, now it's over to Ritu. My pleasure to invite Ms. Ritu Simha is the Senior Manager, Business Development and Strategy, RX Propellant. So I would ask Ritu to introduce herself and then present.
Absolute pleasure coming in today. So I'm Ritu Simha, I'm a Bangalorean, and thank Dr. Raja for inviting me onto the platform today and having this opportunity to introduce what we've been doing as a company and as a team for over 20 years in India. You want to disconnect and download and then So I've put together a short presentation that talks about both our initiative in Bangalore and a little bit about our journey in the life sciences space in India. So just to introduce myself while this is being set up. So we are a cluster development platform focused on life sciences as a sector in India. To give you a broad understanding of numbers which you might already be aware of. So comparing a decade of India's growth in this sector and bioeconomy specifically, we started off at about 30 billion US dollars of an economy in 2014, and today we've very well surpassed about 100 billion US dollars. And to talk about the startup ecosystem, we would have started at about 100 chains of biotech or similar startups around 2014. Today we're standing at over 6,000 such startups. So while we were working through our platform as an ecosystem developer, and yes, we're focused on India alone, our thought was how do we keep building models that will facilitate such young companies to get to the next stage, and then how do they move forward in an accelerated way to scale up and commercialize and then start generating the revenue goals that they have. Yes. Okay. I think by the end I'll have the lights turned on. So yeah. So just to start, the idea today was to talk about how clusters are very important for the sector as a whole to grow in India. So there have been many projections made for India, an example that I gave just a bit ago. And one projection says that Bangalore alone is a huge force in the Indian economy in life sciences. And going forward, it has the potential to become the next Boston of the world. Boston, as you all very well know, is, I would say, one of the biggest performers when it comes to life sciences for over 50 years now, since conception. So why can't Bangalore be the next Boston? Our initiative, as I introduce it, is towards that kind of an ideology of let's bring in that sort of a cutting edge environment, let's bring in that sort of opportunities, which is also receptive to how dynamic the cluster is, dynamic the ecosystem in India is, and companies move forward. There was a map here. Yeah, we can. Yeah. Next. So I believe there was an India map here, but just to give an introduction of where Bangalore and Karnataka stand in the Indian ecosystem for biotechnology. Like I said, over 50% of biotechnology companies today in India are from Bangalore. Bangalore is the largest startup hub for biotechnology. And things are getting interesting because as AI also starts integrating with the healthcare sector, Bangalore is the best positioned company, city in India to take this forward. And of course, as the technology sector has been growing in India and the technology sector grows in Bangalore, it is the highest employer of people in the tech industry. And it is the highest employer of people in the biotech industry also. So a combination of this is very powerful going forward. Next. Again, just briefly talking about the various statements that have been made and also the ideology that Bangalore is going to be the next Boston. While India grows and you would say that CAGR of about 25% is what you see for India as a bioeconomy, Bangalore has the potential to surpass well over 30% should you be able to use that potential. So why are clusters important and what are the real tangible benefits that you see when you're a part of a cluster? Collaboration is the key word here. So what a cluster allows you to do is to interact with companies that are similar to you, to have that kind of a knowledge transfer between companies like yourself and also to share resources or pool them. When you see that you're two different parts of an important value chain. So you might be a medtech company and you might be a biotech company or you might be a pharma company for that matter. Different kinds of companies can synergize in different parts of the operation of theirs. They can synergize in different parts of their value cycle. So having a cluster gives you that benefit and we've seen that benefit over the years. For example, in Genome Valley, where we've been instrumental for 20 years since the conception of the valley and we move forward with the biotechnology policy and today we're standing at about 250 plus companies in that cluster alone. And our key learning there was to build an environment where multiple kinds of companies can work together and scale together. It gives you a lot of benefit. And there is always strength in unity. So when you're scaling, the kind of investments that you're able to attract also grow manifold. So talking about RX Propellant, of course, we've been pan-India from the sense of being in Bangalore, of course. Genome Valley has been our home ground and we have 7 different campuses across the valley. And as of this month, we've started off our cluster in Navi Mumbai also, which is about 16 acres of a parcel. So in total, I would say our portfolio with clusters is about 6.5 million square feet. We have 2.5 million square feet in Hyderabad, 2.5 in a consolidated cluster in Bangalore, and about 1.5 million in Navi Mumbai, in Bombay. So just talking about Bangalore Life Sciences Research District, because like I said, we do clusters dedicated to the life sciences sector. It's a 52-acre parcel right at the south of Electronic City, where we're trying to do a mix of R&D labs, and once proof of concept is done, once goes to scale up. So you have pilot scale facilities that one sets up, and then when they go ahead and they commercialize, they need that kind of infrastructure to go and commercialize. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to build infrastructure and build a platform where one can start and one can take it till the end. And then they can exponentially keep growing and growing and growing. And one thing that we're trying to do here is bring the real estate and the infrastructure nuisance out of the equation, because when you're a young company especially, and you're looking at setting up a pilot plant, for example, you would have to invest in certain things like land, look for a piece of land, and then you go forward, you build. While you're building, you need a lot of approvals, and that liaison is a gamut in its own. So all of these things, if taken care of, and your capital investments, if they're redirected back to your core operations, you could possibly look at much more acceleration in your growth. And there's a flexibility that is also associated with these kinds of spaces. If today you're starting off with a visibility of 3 or 5 years to go ahead and commercialize, and things are going ahead, or they're a little bit of a plus minus, or plus in a different kind of a scale, in that case, you are not landlocked, or I would say locked into the equation to use all of your initial investment to the fullest from day zero. So what this gives you is an ability to grow incrementally while you're taking your risks. While there are market dynamics that change year on year, you are able to adapt, you're able to manage risks in a different way if these things are taken care of. So this is what we've been trying to do, and Bangalore is one such attempt. This is just a 3D visual of one of the buildings, the research buildings that we're doing. So as you can see, I'll get into the concept of these things later, because I come from a real estate kind of a background, and I've been proud being part of this system where I'm able to learn more about the life sciences sector and how these two integrate. So here we are trying to build buildings that are more eco-friendly, I would say, in laymanly terms. But to talk about it technically, lots of companies today and investors, they're looking at ESG integration in their ecosystems, in their company, day-to-day workings, and also their long-term strategies. So ESG, a huge chunk of it also comes from your infrastructure or real estate also. So while we've been modeling our systems, Bangalore is our, I would say, biggest attempt at trying to align ourselves with your ESG goals. So the more you are a part of such an ecosystem, possibly, there would be certain resource saving that might happen in the long term. Also in the short term, there is that, I would say, additional identity created that one is aligned with ESG measures in a different manner. So what are we doing in Bangalore Life Sciences Research District? Like I said, we start off with R&D labs where you could be as well practicing possibly chemistry, or it could be biotechnology. So you might be looking at BSL labs, also you might be looking at microbiology labs, or you could have a very few more dense environment that you want to work with. So all of these things are taken care of infrastructurally by us. There are spaces of different formats that we create to make sure that you can start from a lower scale or a smaller scale, and you can build up only as and when you want to build things up. So that is from the perspective of R&D. Then, like I said, pilot scale facilities or pilot labs are something that you can do. So in Bangalore, especially, given that things are a bit scattered, but there are numbers. So numbers still is the strength, and that will propel us going forward. But having things together and giving people the right kind of technical environment is very important once they scale or they go commercial. So when I talk about pilot facilities or commercial facilities, you need certain spaces that are larger in size, that give you more height, that will give you much more power supply, that will have larger HVAC capacity. HVAC is heating, ventilation, air conditioning, which is very important in the biotechnology space also, because you have more air changes, just getting into the technical side of things. So these kinds of technical specifications become very important. So we make sure we take care of all of that. We have all that built into our systems from day one, and the macro scale of things are already installed and they're already sanctioned. So going forward, it is more seamless to integrate with whatever your operation is. And that's our location. Why that location? Of course, there were multiple pockets, there are multiple pockets that are growing at a significant scale. But being closer to Electronic City has its own unique advantages. You have both Electronic City and Bomsandra and Jigni, which are a life sciences belt today, just like Pina is and just like Whitefield also is. But being there, we realize that there is scope for a large scale setup where any kind of operation can be scaled without having certain difficulties when it comes to regulation. So regulations there to be able to take care of, we wanted an autonomous kind of a setup where we're doing a very large scale campus. Everything is privately operated. Approvals are all taken care of by the system, by the team itself. So that was one parcel that we found very interestingly close to Jigni. And what we're expecting is that it will create some sort of a momentum as the industry grows in Bangalore. So it's a opportunity for one to consolidate in a location. This is the floor plan. There's some issue with it. So I'm not sure if you're able to make things out. This was just a master plan that I was trying to show. In the 52 acres, we're doing parcels of 10 acre each. 10 acres because you have to, or you would prefer breaking your infrastructure system up into parts for additional flexibility. So for example, if you're looking at effluent treatment, if you're looking at power supply, or if you're even looking at your solid waste management, systems like that, or if you're looking at water supply, if you break things up into smaller parts, there is much more flexibility that you can have, and you can customize things better for someone who's using them. So 10 acres, 5 parcels of 10 acres, and each parcel has a capacity for about 5 lakh square feet of potential. We are working on the first segment, which is BLR District 1. It's BLR because coincidentally also we were Bangalore Life Sciences Research Park, so that's BLR right there. So the first district is about 10 acres with 5 lakhs of development, and we are now nearing closure of 1.5 lakh square feet of development. So that is just the phase 1, where we have 3 different R&D blocks. That's just a view of, I had shown you another picture just a bit ago, which was more of a close-up, but this is how the first district looks. We are doing much more of modular buildings, much more of modular spaces so that integration becomes more easy. So there's no funky shapes as such. All of this has been distilled over time. So we are looking at maximizing efficiency when it comes to your labs also. And of course, like I mentioned, Bangalore is our biggest attempt until now in integrating sustainability into operations, especially when you're looking at R&D and commercial also, it becomes important. So if you could just see here, you would see that clean energy sourcing, of course, is our biggest mantra. We are a company whose parent is Actis. They're a London-based private equity, and the majority of their assets are in green energy and solar energy for that matter. So also aligning with those kinds of principles, green energy sourcing from solar sources is our biggest push. Also end-to-end waste management, like I said, we have in-house systems for effluent treatment, including a zero liquid discharge system. So point is, whatever waste is generated in-house is taken care of in-house. In other cases, when things are not taken care of at that scale, you have issues with regulations. So point is, there should be minimal issues one faces in those aspects. Also, when you talk about water security, Bangalore, as everybody would know, has its own complex issues with water security. What we're trying to do in the campus is we are building injection wells right inside the campus, which will recharge our groundwater. The same recharged groundwater is going to be circulated back into your usage. And there will be filtration systems to make sure that systems are working well for you. So that's one more thing that we're doing, and we're also very aggressive on rainwater harvesting at a very macro scale. Also talking about smart building management, I think many of you would have had the experience with smart building management, especially in scientific environments. There is a certain precision that you need in your day-to-day systems, and there is certain stringent monitoring you need to make sure that everything is working well in these systems. And our task is also to set up such macro systems so that things can be monitored well on a day-to-day basis. So just talking about our goals here, and this has been quite the public, I would say, declaration also from our end. We are, all of our portfolio for that matter, the 6.5 million square feet, we're looking at LEED Green Building Certification. This becomes an important aspect of ESG. And we are also looking at phase transition to 100% solar energy usage. Our partners in Bangalore have been delivering projects to this extent, and we are very focused on delivering 100% transition to solar. And when you're talking about water supply, just like I said, you have rainwater harvesting that we're doing at site at a macro level, to the extent that just the first district is going to have about 1 lakh liters of water every day pulled back into the system and can be used once again. So I think I briefly touched on this where we have higher floor height so that pilot plants, for example, larger fermenters also can be put in place. And there's vibrations that your equipment have that are taken care of by by our structural integrity and also our floor loading capacities. So if you compare it with a standard office, you would have about 300, 350 kgs of bearing capacity. We are looking at about 750 kgs to 1,000 kgs of bearing capacity. That makes a lot of difference. I mean, when you're getting commercial, there is equipment that is almost 10x or 20x heavier than what you're using in your R&D or even pilot. So such things becomes important, and retrofitting has its own cost associated. Avoiding that and being prepared from day one might have its own benefits as we go forward. We can skip this. So this is just a view of how it is as of today, the first 3 blocks. So we are looking at the facade almost being done up, and all of our, I would say, these buildings, this is as is, you would go on, yes, this is live. So we have 3 buildings that are already set up and they're being evaluated by multiple interested companies who would want to come. The model is, I would say, leasing, sir. So point is, instead of complete capex on day 0, how about you incrementally pay out in the format of a rent that will be spread across a longer period of time. But point is, once one is looking at a 3-year, 5-year, or 7-year strategy, things work out differently and more efficiently in certain cases. No, it's absolutely lease, but these leases are long term. So if one is looking at a lease, they might start off. So just to broadly talk about terms of lease, so we take care of everything that comes under the gambit of a warm shell. In your building systems, your macro utilities, for example, power supply, sanctioning of that power supply, water supply systems, including your potable water. You're also talking about chillers in your HVAC systems. All of these things are taken care of as we install all of that, including your CapEx. All of the large scale CapEx investments are done by us. I think we can discuss. That would be subjective to what kind of model we want to engage in. So yes, I'm on. I think we're already opening the discussions. So that's that. So there is a model, an accelerator that we have just started in the first phase. So the first of the 3 buildings, the photograph was relevant from that intention. So in the first building, we're doing an accelerator, which essentially translates to what a company needs after it comes out of an incubator. That will have 2 kinds of models, both integrated together. One is fitted out lab spaces. You might have biology labs, or you might have chemistry labs, or even wet labs for that matter, different kinds of labs. So those would be fitted out with their utilities. You would also have a common instrumentation facility. So a CIF of about 5,000 square feet is planned out in the first phase. So we're in the process of building that out. And I think I would be keeping everyone posted on what we're doing there. This is purely private. Yes, we have our own partners and investors on these projects. So because that's why I mentioned Actis. So we are a platform of Actis. We got acquired early last year. They're a UK-based private equity, and our investments are through funds that's been disbursed in that manner since the start of last year. So we do have development partners who are locally based, who work on the construction and other side of things. And we also have our parent, I would say, parent company. It is complete today. So what we do is, you would see that there is some more finishing left to be done in the building. So I would safely say that by the end of November, we'll be in a position to say that our warm shell is ready for evaluation. Of course, companies are also evaluating at this stage. because at this stage we stop a bit of our utility works so that if you want things customized, we're able to customize them faster. Tomorrow, after we've set everything up, it's a little less flexible integration. So at this stage is when I would say things move in that pace where one can evaluate technically.
Digital platform come registered project? No, it is only
Platform?
you said we are the platform acquired by someone, you said.
We are a platform because this was only the infrastructure side of things that I touched. We also have Constant, for example, in Genome Valley, like I said, 20 years now. So we have a Genome Valley Connect platform that works with pan-India connection platforms also, where the set of companies sitting in there, the day in and outs of what they need and what they aspire, they're communicated to each other. Genome Valley is at the edge of North Hyderabad. There's a locality called Shamirpet, so there's about 600 acres there. Yeah.
So is it million and compared to the current incubators with the
Pricing might look like. So I think you'd asked if what the smallest format of space is, and also a comparable between pricing was vis-a-vis incubators today in Bangalore. So the first bit is that you can look at a smallest format of about 1,000 to 2,000 square feet. To give you a comparison, one would be working out of an incubation space of about 500 to possibly 2,000 square feet. But when you're going to pilot scale, you might want larger spaces. So you can start off with 1,000, 2,000, of course, but that is expandable. So tomorrow, if you want to go to 5,000 or 10,000 or do the entire block, that is a possible model that can be explored. And talking about price points, again, I would say it is quite comparable, but one would bear in mind that we are doing an accelerator that is the next stage of an incubator. But still, the prices are quite comparable. We are. So we're looking.
Models, everything available there.
Models, yes. So we would have much more material available. I mean, we'll be touching on every aspect in particular. If someone wants to know about ESG and how that integrates into possibly fundraise system and how we are building value from ESG's perspective, we'll be happy to share details. And also the accelerator as we go forward, I think I'll keep you all posted on how it goes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ritu. So this is good news and bad news, Ritu. Good news is that something like this cluster is happening, but bad news is that it's not happening on this side of Bangalore.
Open now, and the way that we've been expanding, everybody started off with one campus and then we grew to 7 different campuses. So BLR district as a project is the first phase of what we're looking at in Bangalore as a whole. And today we've again started our first phase in Bombay. So the idea is we keep growing, and this side of town is, I would say, what we're looking at next.
So we are a cluster here. Okay, so we are, a huge set of companies, all of them. There are many more who are not here. We are connecting universities like Atria. We have IAC. We have a lot of things. So you have to start putting the plan in place to make sure that you have BLR district branch 2 somewhere nearby. Okay, I mean, actually, you're making the dream come true for many people here who have been struggling from going from startup to scale up, right? They're stuck at the scale up, startup level. And what government, I'll be very careful, what government promised 15, maybe 30 years ago, saying that Electronic City, right next to BBC, with their 52 acres of land, was going to be the place where we could have a processing industry for all biotech companies. Unfortunately, that's not happening because of various other reasons. So we are frustrated, and we've written to the government, we have written to whoever, but so far no news. But this is a news. This thinking that is private. Hopefully, this will see the light of the day as soon as possible. Okay, so thank you.
So you see concrete, yes.
They give you a place where remember
us can do, if you want to continue, we'll give you a wait list like a fast.
Oh, okay, great. Point taken. So, yeah. So while we're looking at the campus as a whole, because I was constantly showing close-ups of concrete. But point is, concrete is important because while we are doing, no, we are doing it. I know he's pulling.
Not a space in article. We could think of real artistic.
But this here, just to add a bit of a point, I will, sir, I will. Right. So as a whole, the campus has more than the 30% green cover that you need to have. Not grass, the trees. So originally there's been a lot of estate. I would not say it is also organic growth of trees. We are preserving all the vegetation that we can and have groves that people can walk around in. I know. Thank you.
Hey, this is the beauty of platforms like this, like Ibiom, Atria, joint hosting of this, where people can connect to each other. So I'm so glad that you're all here. Shobha is the next person. She's not here. So are we done? Varsha? Okay, Varsha, please come. So with this, we are coming to the end of the day. And then Varsha is going to, another trustee of Ibiom, she's going to do the concluding remarks.
Right. Guys, thank you so much for all of you being here. Every month we get to meet some of you, and many times we don't get to meet some of you. So you can't hear. I should do it like this, right? Okay, fine. So thank you so much for all of you making the time to come here. So nice to see Kirit again. Hi, many years. Yes. So first of all, I'd like to thank the Atria team, Kaushik Raju, Sundar Raju, Dr. Santosh, who was there. Thank you so much for your hospitality. Your campus is beautiful, it's stunning, and we really look forward to coming here more and more. To our panelists, moderated so nicely by Jag, Dr. Manish, Dr. Srinath, Dr. Santosh, Dr. Sridhar, hi. Wonderful panel, really thought-provoking, and I hope that the people who are listening also got some ideas, and hopefully this sets a stage for many more such panels. Thank you so much, Ritu, and it was really motivating and inspiring. I mean, I don't even have a product in that stage, but I'm already like, I should think about South Bangalore, maybe. If there are like helicopters going from north to south, perhaps. Or if you probably start something in North Bangalore, it might actually be sooner. And finally, I would like to thank all of you again, and those who are online. For those who have not registered for Ibiom, I started as a trustee about maybe 3 months ago, and I have to admit, I'm a fairly lazy trustee. But people like Shobha, Shailaja, Jag, Raja, they go out of their way to make this happen every month on month. And it's a huge amount of work, making sure the people come in, figuring out the location, figuring out the logistics, figuring out who is going to be talking and what, and how it's going to be relevant to every single person. And biotech, as you know, is so diverse that invariably whatever you pick is not going to be relevant to some other people. So how do you pick the topics that are actually more or less relevant to the majority? So it's a lot of work, and if you're reaping the benefits, I would truly suggest, please consider registering. Thank you so much, and let's have dinner.
Thank you, Santosh. Just before you go, so next month's meeting is going to be in Bayer Crop Sciences. First MNC that Ibiom is going to have. So you wish to invite people?
Thanks, sir. So our office is not too far from here. It's in Manyata Tech Park. So yeah, please come over there. And we're also planning to have some people in the organization who are interested to meet startups, especially in the space of sustainability, digital, microbials, anything like that way. So it'll be an opportunity to interact and see what we are interested in. So we are also looking to see how we can partner with companies who have technologies rather than inventing the wheel again. So please come over.
Just stay there, stay there. In the absence of a proper baton to pass it on, you can pass this on to him. From the current host to the next host. Don't take it away. And but not so in university campuses. And Santosh and your team, Saurabh and Upas and all of them, you've done a great job. Thank you so much for your warmth and everything that you provided. So on a small, very small gift for you. Okay, so we're gonna go somewhere for. All right. Saurabh, we're to the same place. So go back to the floor where we had tea and bondas. Thank you. So online audience, whoever is there, so sorry that we keep sort of putting you on side, but there's no intention. So thank you so much for participating. Hopefully we'll see you live next month on the 25th of November in Ibiom Crop Sciences building. It's a beautiful campus, great host. So please, we hope to see you there. It's going to be mainly agri and environmental focus. Thank you so much.
Thank you, online audience. See you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Keep shining.